Chapter 51. Yang Cheng's sharp senses allowed him to start the car in the first instance. Stepping on the accelerator, the M3 roared out of the underground garage. Several ULA international security guards stared blankly at the silhouette of the car running away in an instant. They looked at each other in dismay. No one knew which big shot in the company had such driving skills. While driving, Yang Cheng asked, "What's wrong, Mother Wong?" "Mistress got home from work, Master came, and they're arguing outside," Mother Wong said with a sobbing tone. "Young Master, quickly come back. Master also brought a few people over. They don't look like good people. I'm afraid they will hurt little." Mother Wong didn't finish her words. A noise came from the other end of the phone, followed by a familiar male voice. "It's the brat surnamed Yang, right? I'm Lin Kuan. I'm waiting for you here. If you have the guts, come back immediately." The veins on Yang Cheng's hand that was gripping the steering wheel suddenly popped. He could clearly hear Mother Wong's cries from the other end of the phone. It was obvious that the phone was forcefully taken away. "Do you know what you're doing?" "I'm very clear, surnamed Yang. If you have the guts, come back immediately. I want to see what kind of ability a mutton skewer-selling brat like you has to make my Lin family's little slut do these unfilial things." Yang Cheng didn't say anything else, expressionlessly hung up the phone. In fact, if the phone wasn't a gift from Lin Ruoshi, perhaps it would have already been crushed to pieces. He instantly stepped on the accelerator. Although it was during a crowded period of time, the roaring engine made many cars obediently open up a path. The white BMW blew past like a whirlwind, attracting countless curses, but all of this had nothing to do with Yang Cheng. At this moment, in Yang Cheng's eyes, the only road was straight. There were no traffic laws, no red and green lights. What he wanted was speed, and even faster. A journey that would normally take more than 20 minutes. Yang Cheng used less than 10 minutes to rush to his destination like a missile. The car came to an abrupt stop in the open space in front of the villa. There was a screeching noise, and a cloud of smoke and dust was raised. At this moment, the sun had already set, and the faint golden light spread over the spacious, high-class villa area of Dragon Garden. The green trees reflected the red light, and the grass was like a golden stream, making the scenery exceptionally beautiful. However, Yang Cheng was not in the mood to appreciate this rare scenery. After getting out of the car, he walked to the entrance of the villa with a solemn expression. Without waiting for Yang Cheng to reach the door was pushed open with great force. Lin Kuan's figure in a well-ironed suit walked out. His originally handsome and mature face now looked gloomy and excited, as if he could already foresee how he could take revenge on Yang Cheng for humiliating him. Following closely behind him were 5 young men dressed in the same tight-fitting black short-sleeved shirts. From their bulging muscles, it was not difficult to see that their skills were extraordinary. "Ah, bastard, you really have the guts to come back here. I thought you were too scared to come back." Lin Kuan tilted his head and raised the corners of his eyes. His eyes revealed a strong hatred. Yang Cheng sighed. It seemed that he had indeed restrained his temperament. Otherwise, just based on his vulgar words, it would be enough reason to cut off his tongue. He looked at him indifferently and asked, "Where are Ruoshi and Mother Wong?" As soon as he finished speaking, 2 figures walked out from the entrance of the villa. "Young master, young master, young master, young master, be careful." At the entrance, Mother Wong, who was wearing an apron, supported the extremely pale Lin Ruoshi as they walked out. Lin Ruoshi had not changed out of her work attire. Her originally cold and elegant face looked as if she had lost her soul. Her eyes were dim and her hair was messy. She stared at the ground without any focus, as if everything in front of her had nothing to do with her. If this scene suddenly made Yang Cheng feel a little distressed, then the red palm print on Mother Wong's face made Yang Cheng's eyes flash with a hint of killing intent. Unfortunately, Lin Kuan clearly did not notice the change in Yang Cheng's eyes. "Kid selling mutton, let me tell you, since you came back here today, you asked for it. I have a few brothers who don't even have eyes for punches and kicks. If you want to be hit less, you better kneel on the ground and kowtow to me a few dozen times, then lick my leather shoes clean and obediently walk in a rubbish bin. Then, I might let you go and let you scram." Lin Kuan laughed weirdly. His voice seemed to be a little crazy. "Lin Kuan, Yang Chung raised his head and looked coldly at the insolent man in front of him. I think I told you last time, I hate being threatened the most. You can threaten me, but you must be prepared to bear the consequences. I'm threatening you. Bastard. What can you do? Do you have the ability to defeat my 5 brothers? Lin Kuan, who was so angry that he laughed, roared loudly. Yang Chung did not say anything else, and walked step by step towards Lin Kuan. The 5 thugs obviously did not take Yang Chung seriously. After all, from the looks of it, this young man did not have the ability to fight back. So when they saw Yang Chung approaching, only one man walked forward and looked at Yang Chung with disdain. At the same time, he walked towards Yang Chung. Yang Chung did not even bother to look at the black shirt man blocking his way. Seeing the black shirt man raise his hand and throw a lightning-fast punch at him, as if he had calculated it, he also threw a punch at him. Bang! When the 2 fists collided, there was a muffled sound, but the effect that followed shocked everyone present. Ouch! The face of the man who raised his fist first twisted. He hugged the arm that he used to punch and painfully knelt on the ground. Hand! Large beads of sweat dripped down. The man felt as if the bones in his entire arm were broken. After a few consecutive waves of intense pain, he fainted on the spot. The remaining 4 thugs obviously did not understand what was going on. They saw Yang Chung already walk in front of them. Quick! Lin Kuan felt that the situation was not right and hurriedly commanded. The 4 thugs fiercely stretched out their legs towards Yang Chung, trying to subdue Yang Chung to the ground. But when the 4 thugs' fists and legs landed on Yang Cheng's body, they suddenly realized that no matter if they hit Yang Cheng's chest, stomach, thighs, or any other place, they did not even shake Yang Cheng's body. It was as if their legs had landed on a heavy iron plate or a huge boulder. Their strength was not enough to cause any damage to this huge monster. The 4 thugs immediately broke out in a cold sweat. This guy's body was his body made of iron. Yang Cheng's gaze was fixed on Lin Kuan in front of him. After being attacked, he casually raised his hand like a knife. The 4 thugs did not even have the chance to launch another attack or jump away. They felt a blur in front of their eyes, and each of them had been ruthlessly hit on the back of their necks. Yang Cheng's figure seemed to have only moved a little, and the 4 originally healthy thugs had already fainted on the ground. At this moment, Lin Kuan felt a wave of intense regret. But he did not feel that seeking revenge on Yang Chung was wrong. Instead, he felt that he should have asked that person who helped him to get more thugs. Chapter 52. It's your turn. Yang Chung stood face to face in front of Lin Kuan. The way he looked at Lin Kuan was like a butcher looking at a piece of meat on the chopping board. He calmly asked, "Do you want to break your leg or your hand? If you want to die, I can help you." He wasn't joking. Lin Kuan reacted immediately because this was the first time he saw killing intent in a person's eyes. It was a naked and undisguised killing intent. He would really kill him. "You don't come over." Lin Kuan was scared. He slowly backed away, wanted to stay away from Yang Chung. But behind him was the stairs and the villa's door. Suddenly, Lin Kuan turned his head and saw Lin Ruoshi standing at the door in a daze. He shouted, "Little bitch! You wild man want to break your old man's leg. Are you not going to discipline him?" Just as he finished speaking, Lin Kuan felt a steel plier-like hand grabbing his chin. A voice as cold as ice and metal rang in his ears. "Your mouth really stinks. Maybe I should first cut off your tongue, put it in your mouth, and then sew your mouth shut. If you're hungry, you can only eat your own tongue. What do you think of this method?" Woo, woo, woo. Lin Kuan was so scared that his face turned ashen. His eyes bulged. But if he struggled even a little, Yang Cheng's hand that was grabbing his chin would tighten. It was so painful that he didn't dare to move at all. At this time, Lin Ruoshi, who was standing at the door, slowly raised her head. Her beautiful eyes that were in a daze finally regained some luster. She looked at Yang Chung with a complicated expression. Then she looked at Lin Kuan, who was about to pee his pants. She weakly said, "Yang Chung, let him go. Don't scare him anymore." Lin Ruoshi's tone wasn't as cold and indifferent as usual. She spoke very lightly. But it was this sentence that made the burning anger in Yang Cheng's heart weaken. "She's too much like that person. Yang Cheng felt a little helpless. The figure that had been deliberately forgotten flashed across his mind, and he was momentarily lost in thought. Yang Cheng loosened his grip. Lin Kuan, who was in pain, unwillingly and fearfully dodged to the side. He carefully looked at Yang Cheng, gasping for breath. "Dad, it was Su Jihong who asked you to come, right? These people should also be given to you by him, right?" Lin Ruoshi looked at Lin Kuan and asked softly. Lin Kuan's face revealed a bit of malevolence as he fiercely glared at Yang Cheng. "So what if I am? Young Master Su is helping me eliminate this animal. Such a bastard wants to plunder the assets of our Lin family. I will never agree to it." "Dad!" Lin Ruoshi cried out in grief, her eyes filled with pain. "Dad, don't you know that you're being used by the Su family? You're helping Su Jihong cause trouble for me. Do you know how serious the company's situation is? Dad, please wake up. Su Jihong is completely different from what you think." "Nonsense!" Lin Kuan shouted. "You slut. Don't pretend to have good intentions. Don't think that just because you call me Dad, I'll think that you, an unfilial woman, is kind. If you really had good intentions for me, you wouldn't have taken away everything that originally belonged to me. I am the rightful successor of Yulei. If it wasn't for you playing tricks, how could that dead old woman suddenly change her will and hand Yulei International over to a 20-year-old brat?" Lin Ruoshi's legs staggered. If it wasn't for Mother Wang, she would have already fallen. Her face became more and more pale and helpless. Finally, she couldn't hold back her tears. "Dad, how can you think like that? She is my grandmother, your mother. Then how can I think? I want you to marry the young master of the Su family, but you're unwilling. Isn't it because you're afraid that after you get married, Yulei's CEO will change hands? Or else, with young Master Su's qualifications, would a hypocritical slut like you be unwilling?" Lin Kuan was so angry that he laughed. "Ha ha! Now that I'm right, are you so ashamed that you want to die?" Lin Ruoshi only felt the world spinning around her. Breathing became difficult. Her internal organs felt as if they were soaked in mercury. Crystal-clear tears flowed down like a broken dam, dripping onto the ground. The cold and noble queen-like woman finally couldn't hold back her tears anymore. Moreover, she cried so heartbroken. Lin Ruoshi covered her face with her hands. Because of her sobs, her words were choked with sobs. "When Mom passed away, you didn't even come home to see your lover. When Grandma passed away, you waited for Grandma to be the guest before appearing. You only asked about the inheritance. From the time I can remember, other than drinking outside and asking Grandma to give you money, you didn't care about the company at all. How could Grandma feel at ease leaving the company to you?" Lin Ruoshi looked at Lin Kuan with a pained expression. Biting her lips, she said, "Dad, don't you understand what you're doing?" Lin Kuan's face was hazy. He sneered. "They forced me to do this. If it wasn't for those two women who should have died a long time ago controlling me, would need to beg them to give me money. There are so many shares in the company. Why do they only give me this little money? I'm the only man in the family. Shouldn't I be the one in charge? You slut only know how to find excuses. 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 Your words are like farts." Yang Cheng couldn't bear to listen anymore. He really didn't understand how a woman like Lin Ruoshi could have such a stupid, crazy father. Maybe it was the will of the heavens, or maybe the hateful had a pitiful side. One of Yang Cheng's hands instantly grabbed Lin Kuan's neck. With a little force, Lin Kuan suddenly had difficulty breathing. His face turned red. His body kept twisting, but he couldn't break free. "If I had done what I did, you would have died at least 7 or 8 times today," Yang Chen said faintly. He turned around to look at Lin Ruoshi, who was a little nervous at the door, and said, "However, my wife is a soft-hearted person after all. If I kill you as her father, she definitely won't forgive me easily." Speaking up to here, Yang Cheng let go of Lin Kuan's neck, but with a lightning-fast chop, he hit the back of Lin Kuan's neck. Lin Kuan's eyes rolled back, and he fainted on the spot. "Yang Cheng, what did you do to him?" Lin Ruoshi was still worried. She walked up and squatted down to check Lin Kuan's nose. Only when she found that he wasn't dead did she let out a sigh of relief. No matter what, blood is thicker than water. Leave it to me. Yang Chung bent down and lifted Lin Kuan's body onto his shoulder. Then he walked towards the dustbin not far away. Lin Ruashi panicked and quickly stopped him. Don't throw him in. This is enough. I'm already giving you face by not crippling him and letting him die. He treated you like this, yet you still recognize him as your father. I have nothing to say, but I hope you can also consider my feelings. No matter what you think, at least, right now, I am your husband. Yang Cheng's tone was flat, but every word was like a golden rule that couldn't be disobeyed. After he finished speaking, he walked straight to the dustbin. Right now, I am your husband. Right now, I am your husband. Lin Ruashi's arms drooped down. She stood there in a daze, looking at Yang Cheng's back, unable to say a word. When Yang Cheng threw Lin Kuan's body into the dustbin again, he heard Mother Wang scream. When he turned around, "Miss!" Chapter 53. The midsummer night slowly descended, shrouding the bustling city of Zhonghai in a seemingly peaceful darkness. Only the gorgeous neon lights could clearly see the faces of the pedestrians on the road. Along the ring highway, on the smooth two-way 8 lanes, one could see countless streams of cars flashing past like meteors, either driving into the central area or driving out of this dull steel fortress. In the northern part of Zhonghai, along the Yangtze River, there was a green belt. Along the way, there were sparse street lights and insects flying under the streetlights. This was a rare piece of quiet land. Even at this moment, it was still emitting the scorching heat accumulated during the day. Not far away was the winding, endless river, like a jade belt under the blue dome of heaven, resonating with the Milky Way in the sky, reflecting a long string of white buildings on the riverside. This was the most expensive hospital in Zhonghai. The quiet environment allowed the patients here to better recover. But at the same time, the cost was so high that it made the common people shrink back in horror. At this moment in the hospital ward department, in a spacious and quiet corridor, Yang Cheng and Mother Wang sat on a bench specially set up for waiting, quietly waiting for something outside the intensive care ward. Yang Cheng was silent for a long time. Finally, a bit impatient, he reached into his pants pocket and took out a cigarette, but suddenly remembered that this was a hospital. He could only resentfully put it back, sighed, stood up, and paced. Young master. Mother Wang's eyes were red. She had just stopped crying not long ago, and said with some worry, "Young master, why haven't the doctors and nurses come out yet? Could something have happened to Miss?" "Don't worry, although I'm not a doctor, I still know some medical knowledge. Ruashi will be fine." Yang Cheng comforted, in his mind the scene of sending Lin Ruashi to the hospital in the evening. But he also couldn't help but anshin. Just after Yang Cheng threw Lin Kuan into the trash can, he turned around and saw that Lin Ruashi, who was standing on the lawn, suddenly went limp, swayed, and fell on the grass. Yang Cheng flew like a sharp arrow and ran to Lin Ruashi's side to help her up. The first thing he discovered was that she had actually fainted. Thanks to his past experiences, Yang Cheng was not as flustered as Mother Wang. He calmly took out his mobile phone and called the ambulance. At the same time, he carried Lin Ruashi back into the house. After a simple examination, she found that Lin Ruashi actually had a high fever, so she immediately asked Mother Wang to bring her a cold towel and other emergency supplies. She took care of Lin Ruashi until the ambulance sent her to the hospital. The series of unforeseen events caused Yang Chen's heart to be in a mess. Although this woman who was as cold as an ice cube and didn't know how to flirt had never given him a good look, when she met with this incident, Yang Chen helplessly realized that he was truly worried for her. Was it because she was too much like her? Or was it because she was his wife in name? Or was it just because of her? Just as Yang Cheng's thoughts were in a mess, the door of the ward opened. Mother Wang immediately greeted him, grabbed the doctor's arm, and asked, "Doctor, how is Miss Lin?" The doctor held a comforting smile and said, "Don't worry. She has passed the critical period. The high fever has subsided. She just needs to take good care of herself." "That's good, that's good." Mother Wang was so happy that she shed tears again. "Thank you, doctor." The doctor looked at the records in his hand and asked somewhat implicitly, "Excuse me, has Miss Lin been under a lot of pressure recently?" Mother Wong was stunned for a moment and answered truthfully, "Yes, doctor. Miss Lin has actually been working very hard, but she often stays up late these days. Is there any problem?" Miss Lin's body is very weak. According to our diagnosis, it should be caused by long-term overload of work pressure and too much psychological burden. The doctor frowned and said, "The high fever this time is also because her body is weak and she caught a cold. It should be because she didn't sleep well. If this goes on, even if she recovers this time, it will happen again next time. After a few more times, the root of the disease will be branded, and her body will completely collapse." Mother Wong suddenly felt her heart in her throat. "Doctor, what should I do? You must cure my Mississippi. Don't worry, it's not a big problem. What the patient needs is a period of careful recuperation." The doctor smiled and said, "If she can stay in the hospital for about half a month and take some Chinese medicine to recuperate, she can recover to a healthy state." Mother Wong looked embarrassed. "Half a month? I'm afraid Miss Lin won't agree." "She must agree." Yang Chung interrupted lightly, but his tone was not negotiable. Then he said to the doctor, "Doctor, apart from Chinese medicine, what else do we need to do? I am Lin Ruashi's husband. My name is Yang Chung." The doctor showed a bit of surprise, but immediately smiled and said, "Oh, sorry, I really didn't know Miss Lin was married. If Mr. Yang has time, you can accompany your wife to the hospital garden to breathe some fresh air. The psychological burden of the patient is heavy, and she needs a certain amount of relief, not just to recuperate her body." Yang Chung nodded, thinking deeply. At such a young age, she controlled Yulei International, the aircraft carrier of the fashion industry. She had no relatives at home, and her only father only gave her trouble without any achievements. She had to deal with so many cunning enemies in the business world, and her love life seemed so lonely and helpless. She even had to be spied on by rich young masters like Su Jihong from time to time. For this woman to be able to survive until now, it was enough to make people feel awe. After seeing off the medical staff, Mother Wong sighed and said, "Young master, since Miss has to be hospitalized, I'll go back and pack some necessary luggage. I can't wait for Miss to wake up. What do you want?" "It's been hard on you, Mother Wong." Yang Chung smiled sincerely. In fact, Lin Ruashi wasn't without people by her side. At least there was a Mother Wong who watched her grow up and never left her side to take care of her. Mother Wong shook her head, feeling a bit emotional. "What I did was just some small things. If it wasn't for young master, Miss might have been forced into a corner by master. Young master is the one who has done amazing things. Miss choosing young master is really the right choice." Yang Chung couldn't help but laugh at himself. If it wasn't for his ability, Lin Ruashi would probably have been forced into a corner by Lin Cohen. But she just had to pretend to marry him, and he didn't want her to scratch out the first prize like a lottery ticket. After Mother Wong left, Yang Chung gently pushed open the wooden door of the ward and gently walked into the room. The lights in the room were dim, and only the lamp at the head of the bed emitted a soft light that enveloped the pure white bed. Lin Ruashi's black hair was loose, and her usually cold and elegant face now looked as fragile as a willow in the wind. Her eyes were quietly closed, and her breathing was even, but her curved eyebrows were slightly furrowed, as if the dream wasn't going her way. Even the dream was a problem? Yang Chung sat on a chair beside the bed and looked at the unconscious woman in front of him. Her outline, her facial features, her temperament, they were all so similar to that person in the past. Gradually, Yang Chung lost track of time. Knock, knock. The ward's door was suddenly knocked twice. Before Yang Chung could turn his head, someone nimbly pushed open the door and walked in. Chapter 54. The person's breathing was very careful, as if afraid of disturbing Lin Ruashi, who was lying on the bed. Yang Chung could tell that it wasn't Mother Wong's footsteps, so he turned his head in confusion. When he saw the person walking in, he was dumbfounded. "How come it's you?" Mo Chinni was the first to ask in astonishment. She opened her pair of cute and limpid eyes wide, making her originally charming face look especially alluring in the dark room. "That's what I want to ask too. Why are you here?" Yang Chung frowned. After all, his relationship with Lin Ruashi had been kept a secret. If Mo Shinny knew about it, it might bring a lot of unnecessary trouble to the two of them. Just when the two of them were bewildered, the door opened again. Mother Wong walked in with a suitcase in her hand. She said with a smile, "Miss Mo, this is the son-in-law I mentioned. It's all because of him that Miss could survive." Mother Wong. Mo Chinny pointed at Yang Chung in disbelief. She almost screamed. "You said that Yang Chung is Ruashi's husband. Why? Are you surprised?" Since Mother Wong had said it, Yang Chung didn't want to hide it anymore. He asked with a smirk, "Or did you hurt Miss Mo's heart and realize that there's no chance for you to have anything with an outstanding man like me?" Puffed. Mo Chinny gritted her teeth and said angrily, "I'm just wondering why Ruashi suddenly got married and chose a scoundrel like you as her husband. You must have used some kind of trick." Mother Wong saw that the two of them were at each other's throats as soon as they met. She quickly dissuaded them. Okay. Miss Mo, son-in-law, we're still in the ward. You're the closest people to Mississippi. Let's talk less and be more amiable." Yang Chung curled his lips and asked, "Mother Wong, why are you here with her?" Mother Wong explained with a smile, "I was on my way home to get my luggage when Miss Mo called to ask if Miss was at home. You may not know this, but Miss Mo and Miss have known each other for a long time. When old Madam was still alive, they were often together. Now they work together in Yulei. So our relationship is very good. She used to come to eat at our house often. So when Miss Mo asked about it, I didn't hide it. Miss Mo heard that our Miss was hospitalized, so she insisted on coming with me to take a look." He didn't expect Mo Chinny and Lin Ruashi to be best friends. It made sense. When he saw her in the company, he realized that his wife and his boss seemed to have a good relationship, so they were friends in private. "Thank you for your concern. Miss Mo Ruashi is fine now. If you're tired, you can go home and have a good sleep." Mo Chinny rolled her eyes at Yang Chung. Although she was still annoyed that such a person could become the CEO's husband, it wasn't the time to talk about it. She walked to the bed and carefully looked at Lin Ruashi's pale face. She said worriedly, "If you want to sleep, go sleep. I want to stay here and accompany Ruashi. She's not your wife. Why are you accompanying her?" Yang Chung joked. "Get lost." Mo Chinny was furious. "Don't think that you're so great just because you're Ruashi's husband. We've known each other for 7 to 8 years. You don't know anything. I only know that if you speak so loudly again, my precious wife will be woken up by you." Yang Chun helplessly gestured for her to keep quiet. Mo Chinny immediately covered her mouth. She stared at Yang Chung and whispered, "I finally understand why Ruashi was so determined not to fire you. It turns out that she can't be fired. That's because I'm responsible and capable." Yang Chung winked at Mo Chinny. "Miss Mo, don't forget to give me a bonus at the end of the month. I've recovered 400,000 yuan." Mo Chinny was furious at the mention of this matter. She coldly snorted and no longer paid attention to Yang Chung. She pulled a chair and sat on the bed without saying a word. Mother Wong, who was tidying up things, could only sigh when she saw this scene. The night was silent. The moonlight was like a clear spring, flowing into the ward through the thin window. It was quiet and comfortable. It was already midnight. Mother Wong, who had tidied up her clothes and other daily necessities, finally chose to go back to the Dragon Garden Villa after hesitating for a long time. After all, someone had to look after such a big house and do the daily chores. Moreover, there were professional special care nurses in the hospital who could accompany Lin Ruashi during the day. It was not necessary to stay overnight. In the ward, besides Lin Ruashi, who was sleeping soundly, only Yang Chung and Mo Chinny were sitting on the bed in silence. After a long time, Mo Chinny could not stand such a lifeless atmosphere. She said, "Why did you marry Ruashi?" "She never told me. I didn't intend to make it public. Now that you know, I hope you won't go to the company to announce it," Yang Chung said. "I'm not a gossiper. I'm Ruashi's good sister." Mo Chinny was a little dissatisfied. "But you suddenly appeared and became Ruashi's husband. Do you have any ulterior motives?" Yang Chung smiled. "I heard from Mother Wong that you two have known each other since you were young. You should be familiar with her, right?" "Yes," Mo Chinny said. "When I was young, it was Ruashi's grandmother, the old CEO, who helped me. That's why I'm who I am today." Ruashi is my good sister and also my benefactor's flesh and blood. I will never allow anyone to hurt her. Yang Chung ignored Emo Chinny's vigilant eyes and continued. Since you two have known each other for so long, do you think Ruashi or you are smarter? She's smart. Emo Chinny didn't beat around the bush. She rolled her eyes at Yang Chung. Although I don't want to admit it, she has indeed done better than me in everything since she was young. I just want to do my part and help her share some of the work. Then do you think she can't think of what you want? I naturally have my reasons for marrying her. Her reasons have nothing to do with you, Yang Chung said. Emo Chinny gritted her teeth. If you don't want to say it, then don't say it. You are full of fallacious reasoning. Don't think that I can't punish you just because you are Ruashi's husband. I will always be your superior. I just occasionally play high IQ games and talk to girls in my spare time. I do some psychological counseling. Don't make trouble for me. I can't be bothered with you. Yang Chung shook his head and stood up. It's late now. I have something to do tomorrow. Miss Emo, if you want to go home, I can give you a ride. If you want to stay, remember not to catch a cold. After he finished speaking, he glanced at Lin Ruashi, who was lying on the bed with a weird smile on his face before walking out of the room without looking back. Emo Chinny waved her fist at Yang Cheng's back. She wanted to stomp her feet and scold him, but she endured it in the end. Not long after Yang Chung left, Emo Chinny let out a long sigh. She felt that it was not worth it to be angry with that kind of person. She reached out and held Lin Ruashi's hand. She whispered to herself, Ruashi, why did you choose such a scoundrel as your husband? Even if it's to deceive others, you don't have to torture yourself like this. Actually, it's okay. Emo Chinny was stunned. She looked up. Lin Ruashi on the bed had opened her eyes. Although she looked tired, she finally woke up and looked at her softly. Ruashi, you woke up? When did you wake up? Emo Chinny was a little surprised. Lin Ruashi showed a faint smile. Obviously, she was very close to Emo Chinny, who was one of the few friends she had. I woke up when he left. Did you wake up early and deliberately wait for him to leave? Emo Chinny didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I didn't dare to wake up when he was there. Lin Ruashi's eyes flashed with a complicated look. After that, she didn't talk anymore and closed her eyes to rest. Chapter 55. It was nighttime, and the Su family's mansion in Zhonghai was brightly lit. Outside the garden, there were security guards patrolling everywhere. In a relatively dimly lit Baroque bedroom, Su Jihong, who was wearing a black nightgown, stood at the bar counter in a room and poured himself a glass of Lafite red wine. Just as he raised the glass and swirled it a few times, before he took a sip, he heard knocking on the bedroom door. Come in. Su Jihong frowned. Harry Ball, dressed in a washed-out t-shirt and ripped jeans, walked in with a grin. The beard on his face looked like it had not been shaved for more than 10 days, and the stench of sweat could be smelled from far away. How many times have I told you, this door is a work of art? If you want to enter, shout. Su Jihong was helpless against this subordinate of his. Harry Ball laughed. It's because I was too excited and forgot about this. You never remembered. Su Jihong glared at Harry Ball. Harry Ball was deflated, but he scratched his greasy hair. Young master, do you know what I saw today? Su Jihong walked to the window and said lightly, get to the point. How unromantic. No wonder he couldn't pick up the chick with the surname Lin. Harry Ball muttered, then said, Lin Kuan came looking for me, saying that he would help him teach that Yang Chen a lesson. I wanted to push the boat with the current and lend him 5 retired soldiers, but I didn't expect that today. Those 5 people were all defeated by Yang Chen alone. Lin Kuan was thrown into the trash. Young master, don't you think it's funny? Huh, that's his father-in-law, and he was thrown into the trash. Su Jihong swirled the wine in his glass, thinking for a while, then said, it seems that this Yang Chung really isn't simple. Unfortunately, there's too little information on him, and it's too difficult to understand him. Harry Ball teased, young master, don't tell me you're afraid. Afraid? Su Jihong sneered. He only knows a few punches and kicks, and he's a scoundrel. Why would I be afraid of him? A strong dragon can't suppress a local snake. He's just a nobody who came back from abroad half a year ago. Do you think he can really turn the tables? Then do you want me to deal with him now? I heard those pieces of trash say that he's fast, and my hands are a little itchy right now, Furball excitedly said. Su Jihong shook his head. No need. Let's not get involved in this matter for the time being. Lin Ruoshi didn't seem to say anything, but in fact, she understood everything. In this city, she might not be the smartest woman, and she might not be the most low-key woman, but she was definitely one of the most dangerous women. Don't provoke her. Don't force her to do something she doesn't want to do. Young master, you've always thought so highly of Miss Lin. Just what kind of ability does she have? Furball asked in confusion. Su Jihong took a sip of the dry red wine. Actually, I'm not very sure, but it's never wrong to be careful. As for Yang Cheng's matter, don't worry. We don't need to do anything. That brainless Lin Kuan won't let this go. Young master is wise. Stop flattering me. Get out of my room and take a shower. Actually, I just showered last week. Early the next morning, Yang Cheng drove to the West District Market to buy breakfast. As expected, Oldley had set up his stall at the same place as before. His face was full of joy, and he seemed to be in a good mood. It seemed that after knowing about the Chun family's father and son, the burden in his heart had been lifted. Seeing Yang Cheng walk over, he smiled and greeted him. Little Yang, you're here. I heard from them that you want to work at a company. Well, that's what a young man should do. It's all work. There's not much difference. Yang Cheng smiled. Unfortunately, I don't have much time to talk to you guys in the future. Sitting in the office isn't as comfortable as sitting here. Oldie mischievously smiled. That girl Jingjing was very happy last night. Did you say something to her? Yang Cheng thought for a moment. I made an appointment with her to visit her at school today. Oldie had a look of realization. He patted Yang Cheng's shoulder. Young people should get along well. My Jingjing is innocent. Don't let her suffer. Otherwise, I won't forgive you. Looking at old Li's, I knew it, expression, Yang Cheng really wanted to explain a few words. But when the words came to his mouth, he couldn't say it. He could only nod awkwardly. Once again, he entered the office with big and small bags of breakfast. A group of women in the public relations department were already looking forward to it. Seeing the variety of breakfast, they chattered and praised Yang Cheng. Not long after Yang Cheng sat down, he was about to turn on the computer to start a new day of professional gamer when he saw a tired Mo Chinny walk into the office. Mo Chinny glanced at Yang Cheng and then looked at the pile of buns and youtiao left on Yang Cheng's desk. She suddenly became angry. This guy, as a husband, took care of his wife in a hospital and still remembered to buy a lot of breakfast for the women in the office. She couldn't help but ridicule. You really take care of your colleagues. Buying breakfast is so dedicated. I just don't know if you will bring some for someone. Miss Mo also wants to eat? It doesn't matter. Anyway, there's still a lot. Yang Cheng picked up a meat bun from the table and generously sent it to Mo Chinny. You know who I'm talking about? Mo Chinny whispered. Yang Cheng helplessly smiled. Ruashi should eat something light and healthy. Mother Wong will naturally send it over. I can't bring meat buns and youtiao to a patient who needs to recuperate. Heartless. No need to find excuses. Although this explanation was reasonable, Mo Chinny didn't accept it. Realizing that this woman's prejudice against him had reached a certain degree, Yang Cheng didn't want to waste his effort. He shrugged and took back the bun. Mo Chinny accompanied Lin Ruashi in the hospital for the whole night, so she was also hungry. The fragrance in the office made her even hungrier. Seeing that Yang Cheng took back the bun, she was even more annoyed. She secretly cursed Yang Cheng for being stingy and ungentlemanly. She quickly took a bag of steamed dumplings from the table and walked back to the office. You're still so stubborn when you're hungry, Yang Cheng muttered with a smile. When it was almost noon, Yang Cheng declined the invitation of the three women to have lunch together and drove to the hospital. The first hospital of Zhonghai was relatively quiet during the day. After all, the place was big and there were few patients. However, it was suitable for patients to rest. Yang Cheng found a way to the door of Lin Ruashi's ward. Seeing that the door was open and there was a conversation coming from inside, he walked closer and took a closer look. It was an acquaintance that he met 2 days ago. Ruashi, the director of this hospital, is quite familiar with me. Why don't I ask them to vacate the best intensive care ward for you? Just take it as a small token of my appreciation. Su Jihong looked at Lin Ruoshi with pity. Lin Ruoshi leaned on the white pillow and looked at the sky outside the window with her ice-cold face. She said in a clear voice, "No need. Thank you for coming to see me. Ruoshi, you're treating me like an outsider. If it weren't for the fact that I've been busy lately, I would have wanted to spend more time with you in the hospital. People like us lack this kind of quiet time together," Su Jihong said emotionally. This time, Lin Ruoshi didn't even have the interest to continue the conversation. She looked out of the window as if she didn't hear anything. Mother Wang, who was tidying up the tableware, felt that the silent atmosphere in the room was too awkward. Just when she was about to say some polite words for Lin Ruoshi, she saw Yang Cheng standing at the door of the ward. She immediately smiled and said, "Young master, you're here." Chapter 56. Yang Cheng smiled and nodded at Mother Wang, then said to Su Jihong, "Young Master Su is really attentive. You came earlier than me, your husband." Su Jihong smiled modestly without changing his expression. Mr. Yang must be joking. I've been friends with Ruoshi for many years. When I heard that she was sick, I rushed over. Oh! Yang Cheng had a look of realization on his face. He moved forward and laughed strangely. "Since young master is here to visit, you should have brought some gifts, right?" Su Jihong scolded in his heart. Shameless. He said, "I only brought some fruits." He pointed to the fruit basket beside the bed. "I know that Ruoshi doesn't like extravagance, so I just wanted to express my sincerity." Yang Cheng walked to the side of the basket and picked up a red apple. He weighed it in his hand and said disappointedly, "It's a real apple." Su Jihong said doubtfully, "Of course it's a real apple. What does Mr. Yang mean?" He. Yang Cheng said with some regret, "I thought that a rich man like young Master Su would give an apple made of gold. Who knew that it was just an ordinary apple with no other meaning?" Su Jihong only felt that his lungs were a little swollen. How was this man's brain born? Golden apple? Wicked, untouchable, rascal. Mr. Yang really knows how to joke. He. Su Jihong said with a forced smile. Lin Ruoshi, who was sitting on the bed, didn't look back at the two. At this moment, she glanced at them. Seeing Su Jihong's forced smile, the corner of her mouth slightly twitched. If it wasn't for the Su family's power and business cooperation, Lin Ruoshi even wished for Su Jihong to disappear from this world. After all, if it wasn't for him, Lin Kun wouldn't have caused so much trouble, causing her already exhausted heart to become haggard, and now she was lying on the sickbed. It was a pity that she couldn't do anything to Su Jihong. So in a sense, what Yang Cheng did was also what Lin Ruoshi wanted to see. Yang Cheng obviously wouldn't give up so easily. He waved his hand and said, "I know young Master Su's ability. A golden apple is definitely not a problem. It just depends on whether you're willing to give it or not. Of course, such a precious thing, although it might not be worth anything in young Master Su's eyes, it was still not good to casually give it to someone he wasn't familiar with. So his husband and wife won't force it. If young Master Su can give us a real apple, we'll be deeply grateful." With that said, Yang Cheng pulled out a napkin and wiped the apple in his hand. He opened his mouth wide and took a big bite. He said with great enjoyment, "Not bad, it's very sweet. Young Master Su is good at picking apples. It seems like it's not bad to change jobs and become a fruit farmer someday." Su Jihong almost fainted from anger. He had seen shameless people, but he had never seen someone so shameless. With just a few words from this scoundrel, he became a miser, a snob, and a fruit farmer. He was here to visit a patient, not to be scolded. Also, to hell with the sweet apple. How could I have picked it? Of course, Su Jihong wasn't stupid enough to say, "The apple was bought for me by someone else." Wouldn't that show that he wasn't sincere enough? Realizing that he would go crazy if he stayed, Su Jihong put on a fake smile and said, "I have a meeting in the afternoon, so I won't disturb Ruoshi's rest. I'll come see you again when I'm free." With that said, he immediately walked out of the ward. Mother Wang, who had been holding it in, finally couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Son-in-law, you really know how to talk. That young Master Su will probably be angry for a few days." Yang Cheng took a big bite of the apple and said, "He won't. If he really would be angry for a long time over this kind of thing, he would have given up on Ruashi long ago. Sigh. Mother Wang glanced at Lin Ruashi, who was silent, as if she wasn't in the room. I'll go out for a while. Son-in-law, talk to Mississippi. After the well-intentioned Mother Wang left, Yang Cheng also finished the apple in his hand. He sat at the head of Lin Ruashi's bed and said with a smile, My dear Ruashi, this apple is not bad. Do you want me to peel one for you? Lin Ruashi was still looking out of the window expressionlessly, as if she hadn't heard anything. Yang Cheng nodded with satisfaction. You didn't stop me from calling you that this time. You've improved. You even tacitly agreed to eat the apple. You know how to act coquettishly. You've improved even more. I'll reward you right now. I'll personally peel the apple for you. Although she had seen this contract husband's thick skin many times these days, Lin Ruashi still felt that she had underestimated this guy. She hadn't even said half a word, and she was acting coquettishly. Can you be more serious? Lin Ruashi sighed. She turned her head and wanted to have a good talk with Yang Cheng. I'm serious. I've always been serious. What's wrong with a husband peeling an apple for his wife? Yang Cheng smiled as he took a fruit knife. The shiny fruit knife spun 360 degrees in his palm, as if it was glued to his palm. Lin Ruashi was about to say something, but when she saw Yang Cheng's skill, she couldn't help but watch carefully. Yang Cheng took a good-looking apple and held the fruit knife with his other hand. After a slight pause, the fruit knife quickly moved around the apple's skin. Yang Cheng's hand speed was so fast that Lin Ruashi couldn't clearly see what kind of trajectory he was moving at such a close distance. She could only see the small fruit knife turn into countless bright lights, continuously peeling around the apple for a while. Peeling the apple seemed to have become a work of art. Just like pottery or wood carving, it was impossible to know what the final result would be until the last moment. In less than half a minute, Yang Cheng stopped what he was doing and handed the peeled apple to Lin Ruashi. Here, a prize for a husband to give to his wife. Lin Ruashi looked at the peeled apple in front of her and was stunned for a moment. Then, an inexplicable feeling welled up in her heart, and she unconsciously fell into a daze. The originally rosy apple had most of its skin peeled off, but there were still a few slender pieces of skin left on the peeled apple, forming beautiful red cursive characters. I wish my wife good health. Lin Ruashi realized that her eyes were a little wet, so she immediately controlled her emotions and said, You only know these unorthodox and boring things. Peeling an apple is so mushy. Hee hee. Yang Cheng blushed. Actually, I also think it's a bit mushy, so my good wife, you should eat it quickly or I'll feed you. As he said that, he sent the apple to Lin Ruashi's porcelain-like lips. I'll do it myself. Lin Ruashi quickly snatched the apple from Yang Cheng's hand, but when she put it in front of her eyes, she looked at the bright red characters on the peel and paused, somewhat reluctant to open her mouth. Yang Cheng pretended to say, Are you reluctant to bite off such a beautiful apple? It's okay, at worst. I'll peel another one for our Ruashi, but what else should I say? Don't let your imagination run wild. Lin Ruashi immediately took a bite. I just want to know if you've washed your hands. Seeing that Lin Ruashi began to eat the apple he peeled, Yang Cheng no longer teased her. He only felt that the iceberg girl holding the apple with both hands and silently chewing, it was a bit cute. Thank you. Lin Ruashi suddenly said softly. Yang Cheng suspected that he heard wrong. What? I said. Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for me. Lin Ruashi raised her head, her eyes like autumn water. I found that I don't hate you as much as before. Yang Cheng smiled bitterly. There's no need to thank me. When the day comes that you fall in love with me and become my husband, I'll be thankful. Lin Ruashi was not angry at such words, but after thinking for a while, she very seriously replied, That's very difficult. Chapter 57. Iceberg Girl was, after all, an iceberg girl. Although she said a few words for the first time, after she finished speaking, she returned to shut-down mode. Yang Cheng tactfully left the ward. Since he didn't eat lunch, he was a bit hungry. After driving to a small restaurant to settle his meal, he didn't plan on returning to work. Instead, he asked for directions and headed to Zhonghai No. 1 Middle School to find Li Jingjing. Towards that innocent girl, Yang Chung had always been worried about how to deal with the relationship between the two of them. He couldn't bear to hurt her, but he also didn't want to see her sad. But ultimately, Yang Chung knew that in his heart, he had never completely thought of giving up on Li Jingjing. Men were just looking for some high-sounding reasons for their desires. Number 1 middle school was one of the most important schools in Zhonghai, so he could easily find it by asking for directions. After parking the car in the vast open-air parking lot outside the school, Yang Chung got out of the car and realized that he forgot to ask Li Jingjing about the specific location of the meeting. But he wasn't in a hurry to call and ask. After all, it was better to keep some surprises. Perhaps it was because they saw Yang Chung driving a BMW to school. The security guard at the entrance didn't stop him, only glancing at him and letting him pass with a friendly smile. The number 1 middle school's campus was still relatively new to Yang Chung. In fact, Yang Chung hadn't been to the school much. The school's neat layout, the famous wooden plaques between the grass and trees, and the occasional teachers and students carrying books on the road were all very fresh to Yang Chung. On the way, after asking an elderly teacher, Yang Chung finally found the teacher's office building. Remembering that Li Jingjing taught English, with a trail to follow, he quickly found the office marked with the name Li Jingjing. On top of it was a picture of a smiling girl in uniform, brimming with youth. After knocking on the door 3 times, "Please come in," came from inside. It was Li Jingjing's familiar voice. Yang Chung opened the door and saw 2 people sitting inside. One of them was naturally Li Jingjing. With a long ponytail, she wore a white short-sleeved shirt and jeans that only covered her thighs, looking fresh and beautiful. The other person's appearance made Yang Chung astonished. It was actually the Land Rover lady that he met by chance that night. She had sexy, wavy long hair and wore a black dress that gave off a sense of hierarchy. Her smooth white feet wore a pair of crystal-like silver high heels. Sitting on the chair, the curves of her entire body were like meticulously carved works of art. 2 women with completely different styles, but equally charming, sat face to face. They both turned their heads to look at Yang Chung at the door, but the expressions on their faces were completely different. Li Jingjing was overjoyed. She stood up and called Yang Chung, "Brother Yang." She happily pulled Yang Chung into the office and pulled a chair over to sit down. "Why did you suddenly come? Why didn't you call me?" The slightly embarrassed Yang Chung chuckled and said, "Surprise. Surprise is better." Then, he looked at the girl who had a look of realization on her face and said, "What a coincidence. We meet again." "Yeah." Tang Wan looked at Yang Chung and then looked at the satisfied Li Jingjing. A strange and ambiguous smile appeared on her face. "So you know Teacher Li?" Li Jingjing curiously asked. "Miss Tang knows Brother Yang?" "We met once," Tang Wan said, and then added, "We are not familiar." Li Jingjing didn't think much about it. She nodded and said, "I didn't expect Brother Yang to come so suddenly. But since we know each other, it's fine. Miss Tang, if there's anything else you need to know, or if I can help you, you can tell me." Tang Wan shook her head with a smile and said, "I've already troubled Teacher Li enough today. After talking to me for so long, it's time for me to return to the company. Moreover, Mr. Yang is already here. If I still don't leave, that would be too insensible." As she said that, she looked at Yang Chung with a profound gaze. Yang Chung didn't dare to look at this woman. Originally, he clearly wanted to have a one-night stand with her. Unfortunately, he didn't succeed. Now that he was looking for Li Jingjing in front of her, it was inevitable that she would think of something else. So he looked left and right, but he didn't dare to talk to Tang Wan. Li Jingjing's pretty face blushed, but she felt a bit sweet in her heart. "Miss Tang, you think too much. We are not in that kind of relationship." "Then I think I'm thinking too much." Tang Wan didn't say anything. She elegantly got up and picked up her white Chanel handbag. "In the future, I will have to trouble Teacher Li with my daughter's matters. I will go first." "Thank you, Teacher Li. You're welcome. Miss Tang, take care." After sending off Tang Wan, Yang Chung was relieved. Thinking of the conversation just now, he curiously asked, "Jingjing, Miss Tang asked you to take care of her daughter?" Li Jingjing nodded and smiled. "That's right. Miss Tang's daughter is in our class. I am the new teacher, so she wanted to talk to me about her daughter. Actually, Her daughter is very smart and her grades are good, but she is too naughty. The previous teacher was worried about her and changed classes several times. Miss Tang was afraid that I would have some thoughts, so she specially came to talk to me for a long time. Oh, Yang Cheng was a bit surprised. He didn't expect that Tang Wan actually had a daughter. She looked so young. She was actually a mother. No wonder he couldn't do it that night. Li Jingjing didn't know what her good brother was thinking. She continued, "Parents are always worried about their children. I feel that we must have some patience in educating our children. I plan to take some time to talk to the child. I feel that a smart girl will definitely understand the painstaking efforts of her parents." Yang Cheng nodded in agreement. That's right. She is not satisfied with her mother's love. How can I, who grew up without a father or mother, endure it? Big brother Yang, don't mention these things. It makes you sad. Li Jingjing comforted. Your big brother Yang is used to it. Yang Cheng smiled. He stood up from the chair and looked around the elegant office. This is worthy of being a key high school. The office is pleasing to the eye. Li Jingjing was full of joy. Hearing the praise, she smiled and said, "This office is only used by me and another female teacher. Sometimes I feel that it's a waste. Our little sister Li Jingjing has been studying hard for 10 years. It's no big deal to use such an office." Yang Cheng joked. Li Jingjing pouted and said, "Big brother Yang, I'm not young. I'm not a little sister. In terms of age, I'm the same age as you." Yang Cheng was stunned. He saw Li Jingjing's pair of big innocent eyes looking at him. He understood what this girl was thinking. He felt a little ashamed, but he didn't know what to say. At this moment, the office phone rang. Li Jingjing looked at Yang Cheng with hidden bitterness before picking up the phone. After listening to the phone, she said, "Thank you. I got it." Then she hung up. "What's wrong? Is there something urgent?" Yang Cheng immediately changed the topic and asked. Li Jingjing pouted shyly and looked at Yang Cheng with some expectation. "Big brother Yang, can you accompany me to a place tonight?" Chapter 58. Tonight? Where to? Yang Cheng asked puzzledly. A few young teachers from the English group organized a welcome party for me. They said it's at the Heavenly Province on the Bar Street. I've never been to that kind of place, but I'm too embarrassed to reject everyone. I want to ask you to accompany me. Li Jingjing's confidence became weaker as she spoke. In fact, after knowing the news of Yang Cheng's marriage, Li Jingjing was a bit dazed. It wasn't until that day when Yang Cheng unhesitatingly helped her solve the problem of the Chun family's father and son that she realized that her big brother Yang didn't abandon her. Although she felt sad for Yang Cheng's marriage, Li Jingjing couldn't suppress her urge to see Yang Cheng. When Yang Cheng said he would see her today, she didn't sleep well the whole night. Li Jingjing didn't know how to face Yang Cheng, but when she saw Yang Cheng, she found that nothing had changed. She would still smile happily in front of Yang Cheng, and she would still blush shyly for small things. But when she asked Yang Cheng to accompany her to the nightclub, Li Jingjing was afraid. She was afraid that Yang Cheng would refuse because of the change in his identity, and she was even more afraid that Yang Cheng didn't intend to agree to her small request. Too many thoughts flashed through her mind in an instant. Just when Li Jingjing was a bit depressed, she heard Yang Cheng cheerfully agree. "No problem." "Really?" Li Jingjing was overjoyed. She grabbed Yang Cheng's arm. "Big brother Yang, are you really going with me?" Yang Cheng somewhat dotingly scratched the girl's nose. It was this kind of simple thought that made people feel pity for her. "Look at how happy you are. As a teacher, you should pay attention to your image." "But I'm happy." Li Jingjing stuck out her tongue and still didn't let go. Yang Cheng looked at the time on the wall. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He thought for a moment and asked, "Jingjing, do you have anything to do in the afternoon?" "It's okay. I only have classes in the morning today. Since school just started, I'm not very busy." Li Jingjing answered truthfully. Yang Cheng smiled meaningfully. "Then you should come with me to a place first. Since they have chosen the Heavenly Province, it's not good to just casually go there." After sorting out some trivial matters, Yang Cheng walked out of the school gate with Li Jingjing and got into his car. Li Jingjing looked at everything in the BMW in astonishment. "Big brother Yang, when did you buy a car?" Although she did not know the brand of the car, The girl could tell with her eyes that the car was not of a low grade. "Oh, now that I have a new job, I need to drive, so I bought it." Yang Chung didn't explain much. He couldn't just say that he took it from his wife's garage. Li Jingjing didn't understand and didn't think much about it. She asked, "Big brother Yang, where are you taking me? It's still so early." The teacher said that the party will start at 6 o'clock in the evening. Buying clothes. No matter what, you are still my Yang Cheng's sister. If you go to the heavenly province and lose to others, it won't be a good thing. Yang Cheng laughed. "Is it shameful for me to dress like this?" Li Jingjing lowered her head in inferiority. Yang Cheng helplessly sighed. "Jingjing, I didn't mean that. It's just that you haven't been to the heavenly province, so you don't know. According to my understanding of the bar street, it's not like other KTVs and bars. Simply put, it's a high-end nightclub. Your colleagues chose to go there, so it's obvious that they are all rich people. It's not a big deal for you to dress simply, but if you go there to participate in the welcoming party that they prepared for you, not only will it not be good for you, but it will also embarrass them. Of course, in case some people are particularly snobbish, you can change your clothes to make them shut up, and it won't affect your mood. I think the school teachers treat me very well. They shouldn't laugh at me." Li Jingjing bit her lip and hesitantly said, "Jingjing," Yang Cheng said while driving, "you have also graduated from university for a while. You should face the reality of society. There are some things that you can't do casually, but everyone else can. Since you have entered this society, you can only try your best to adapt. There's nothing to be sad about, and there's nothing to hate." I understand." Li Jingjing nodded. "Thank you, big brother Yang. It's not that I can't figure out. It's just that I'm still not used to it. I'll help you get used to it." Yang Chung relaxed and smiled. In less than half an hour, the car stopped at the Zhonghai building. In the building, one could buy various brands of clothing products from all over the world, saving Yang Chung the trouble of helping Li Jingjing look everywhere. This was the first time that Yang Chung went to a big shopping mall after returning to China. In the morning, he went to the bank to cash the check that he extorted and made a card, so he finally had some capital in his pocket. He took the elevator with Li Jingjing upstairs with some confidence. If it was before, even if he wanted to buy clothes, he would have to borrow money from someone first. Li Jingjing never came to such a magnificent place where the air was filled with the smell of perfume to buy clothes. She nervously held onto Yang Cheng's arm. Her beautiful face was as pure as a lily, and coupled with her cute and helpless appearance, many customers couldn't help but look back. Along the way, after passing by some brand stores such as Louis Vuitton, Hermes, and Chanel, Yang Chung frowned and smiled bitterly to Li Jingjing. "It seems that these stores are more expensive than I thought. Why don't we go to Paris Family to take a look?" Although he had some money, it wasn't enough to buy clothes that cost a few thousand. Li Jingjing didn't understand the meaning of these brands. She only felt that the style of those clothes was very beautiful, but some of them were very shameful. At this moment, she obediently nodded and said, "I'll listen to Big Brother Yang. It's better not to buy anything too expensive. I'm afraid that I don't have enough money," she said as she touched her small bag. Yang Chung smiled and couldn't help but pinch the girl's elastic cheeks. "I'll buy the clothes for you today." "But no buts," Yang Chung immediately said. "Just treat it as you owe me. You can pay me back when you earn money in the future." Li Jingjing had to respond softly, but she was a little happy in her heart. As Yang Chung expected, the clothes in Paris Family's exclusive store were cheaper. This French brand with decades of experience had always paid attention to simplicity, elegance, and purity. It was also in line with the route of buying clothes for Li Jingjing. When the sales lady saw the two of them enter the door, she greeted them warmly and generously. "Sir and Miss, is there anything you want to see in particular? The latest season style just arrived yesterday. Why don't you come in and let me introduce it to the two of you?" "Oh, don't bother. We can choose it ourselves." Yang Chung politely declined the sales lady's kindness. He took Li Jingjing's hand and walked to the women's clothing area. While looking at Li Jingjing's figure, he personally chose for her. Because it was still a working day, there weren't many customers in the store. When several sales ladies saw the young man helping his girlfriend to choose women's clothing, they curiously looked over. Li Jingjing was constantly being looked up and down by Yang Chung. She felt a little strange in her heart, but at the same time, she was touched. Seeing that Yang Chung was so serious about helping her choose clothes, all the previous sadness seemed to vanish. At this time, Yang Chung suddenly nodded thoughtfully. He turned to Li Jingjing and said, "Jingjing, take off your clothes." Chapter 59. Li Jingjing was stunned, and then her face blushed. "Yang, Brother Yang, what did you say?" Yang Chung realized that his words were somewhat inaccurate, and he couldn't help but smile. "I mean, you can go to the fitting room. I'll let them send the selected clothes to you. You can try on each set, and then choose the one you think looks the best." Li Jingjing was relieved. Seeing that the surrounding saleswomen were looking at her with a smile, she really wanted to find a hole to hide in. After Li Jingjing was brought into the fitting room, Yang Chung quickly walked a few laps in the women's clothing area. He took down several sets of clothes that he had memorized before, separated them into a pile of clothes, and let a saleswoman send them to the fitting room. Several saleswomen saw Yang Chung dazzlingly match 4 or 5 sets of clothes, and they couldn't help but be surprised. Since they could work in such a big brand store, they naturally had a certain sense of fashion aesthetics. Yang Cheng's choice of matching was obviously not random. Although they didn't see how Li Jingjing looked in it, they were very clear that it was absolutely a very decent match. "This lady is so lucky to have such a considerate boyfriend, sir," a saleswoman said sincerely. Yang Chung didn't explain anything and shook his head with a smile. Another lady asked curiously, "Sir, are you a designer? Or are you a professional in fashion clothing? It seems that you're very familiar with our Balenciaga brand." "I have a few friends who are more accomplished in this area, and I just know a little bit," Yang Chung replied. This was the truth. Balenciaga could only be regarded as an upper-middle-class brand, and the tailoring of the clothes wasn't too advanced fashion design. With Yang Cheng's many years of experience in dealing with those antiques, it wasn't difficult to analyze this kind of ordinary foreign brand. When women pursued beauty, they were always particularly careful and patient, so men always had to wait for a long time to see the well-dressed finished product. After almost half an hour, Yang Chun and the few saleswomen chatted until they almost talked about peeing their pants when Li Jingjing shyly walked out from the fitting room. When everyone looked over, they subconsciously held their breath for a moment, unable to say a word. The girl's ponytail had already been put down, and her soft straight hair hung in front of her chest, slightly covering her charming face that was flushed from shyness and intoxication. Her delicate and fresh facial features suddenly looked so lively and alluring. The white off-the-shoulder dress perfectly showed natural folds on the girl's arms, wrists, and chest. The lace pattern extended along the graceful waist all the way to the fluffy skirt. The skirt was covered with chiffon, and under the light, it glowed with a pale gold color, revealing a small section of the smooth and delicate leg flesh. It looked especially lustrous and warm. A pair of milky white, fashionable sandals wrapped around a pair of white jade feet. Her cute, pink, and tender toes breathed in the air. Li Jingjing's figure belonged to the typical pretty daughter of a small family in Jiangnan. She was not exaggerated, nor was she thin. She had the right amount of fragrant shoulders and pink cheeks. She had a full and restrained bosom and a perky butt. Hibiscus out of clear water, a natural carving. The girl's unique, pure, and elegant aura finally filled the air. "Oh my God, can the clothes in our store be worn to such an effect?" A saleswoman found it hard to believe and subconsciously exclaimed. Li Jingjing saw everyone staring at her. At the same time, she was shy and happy. A girl's love for beauty made her turn around and look hopefully at Yang Chung. She asked, "Brother Yang, do I look good?" "You are gorgeous, my princess." Yang Chung smiled and bowed in a knight salute. Li Jingjing was an English teacher, so she naturally knew the meaning of this sentence. The joy at her heart made her forget why Yang Chung could speak English. She only felt that her heart was about to jump out and her body was about to turn into a flying bird. "Accept your praise, my knight. Accept your praise, my knight." Li Jingjing lifted the corner of her skirt and happily returned the salute. A saleswoman came forward and said with an envious smile, "Miss, can you allow us to take a photo of you as the most beautiful souvenir in our store?" Li Jingjing hesitated. In the end, she just wanted to listen to Yang Cheng's praise. As for taking a photo for others to see, she was still very shy. So, she looked at Yang Cheng with an inquiring gaze. Of course, our teacher Li is a beauty. What's there to be afraid of? Yang Cheng encouraged. Then, okay then. Li Jingjing smiled and agreed. After the saleswoman happily took the photo, Yang Cheng asked them to take out all the clothes they had chosen and asked, "Buy all of these and tell me how much it costs." At this moment, Li Jingjing took off her dress and changed into a pure white women's shirt and dark brown hot pants that were relatively more convenient for her to move around. A pair of slender white legs were exposed in the air, making her look a bit lively and even more bold and sexy. When she heard Yang Cheng said that he wanted to buy all of them, she couldn't help but exclaim, "Brother Yang, you can't buy all of them, right?" Yang Cheng laughed and said, "You won't only wear this once. You can't wear this every time you go out with those people." Li Jingjing still felt that it was too expensive, but she didn't know what to say. "Don't worry, Mississippi. You have provided such a good signature photo for our store. We will sell it at half price." The saleswoman kindly smiled and said, "Originally, it was more than 6,400 yuan, but this time, we will give you 3 sets and only charge 3,000 yuan." For Yang Cheng, 3,000 yuan was indeed very cheap. He directly swiped his card and completed the payment. On the other hand, Li Jingjing felt a bit of heartache. 3,000 yuan was almost half a month's salary for her. She suspected that the total amount of clothes she had bought since she was a child would not even reach 3,000 yuan. This time, she actually spent 3,000 yuan on clothes in one day. "Okay, my princess, it's getting late. It's rush hour outside, so it's very congested. If we drive to Heavenly Province, it'll be around 6 o'clock. Let's go." After Li Jingjing made up her mind to pay Yang Cheng back in the future, she didn't think too much about it. She happily let Yang Cheng hold her hand and left the store. But when the two of them were about to enter the elevator, Li Jingjing's phone rang. Li Jingjing picked up the phone and said with a somewhat embarrassed expression, "I'm sorry, Team Leader Jiang. I have something to do with my brother in the afternoon. My brother will send me there now. Thank you for your kindness." After hanging up the phone, Li Jingjing apologetically smiled and said, "It was our English team leader who called. Today's gathering was also hosted by him. He said that he would go to school to pick me up, but I wasn't there. I told him that we would go together, and he agreed. Your team leader is a man, right?" Yang Cheng's hearing was good. He could clearly hear that the man's voice on the phone was somewhat unhappy. "And?" Li Jingjing lowered her head. "Is he pursuing you?" Yang Cheng pondered and said with a smile. Li Jingjing quickly shook her head and anxiously said, "Big brother Yang, there's nothing between me and him. I've already distributed the flowers he gave me to the other female teachers. Everyone gets one." Yang Cheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The girl's cute thoughts made him want to pinch her cheeks. "I think you shouldn't let your imagination run wild. Let's go. Don't let them wait for too long." Chapter 60. Just as Yang Cheng expected, even if they constantly overtook other cars on the road, it was already dark when they arrived at the country of Heavenly Province. It was almost 6 o'clock. Li Jingjing didn't feel anything wrong. She seemed to be sitting in the front passenger seat with a smile on her face. From time to time, she would sneak a glance at Yang Cheng. No one knew what she was thinking. The entrance of the country of Heavenly Province appeared to be unusually imposing. The brilliant neon lights made the bars and nightclubs around look inferior. A few flamboyant characters were exceptionally eye-catching from afar. Li Jingjing grabbed Yang Cheng's arm as soon as she got off the car. She was a bit nervous as she followed him through the entrance. She had always been a well-behaved girl. Even if she saw such a place on TV, she would still be a bit scared. She couldn't help but feel a bit guilty when she thought that she was going to have a gathering with the teachers of the same school. "Don't be afraid. It's actually not a big deal. Just treat it as a small restaurant gathering." Yang Cheng comforted her. Li Jingjing nodded. She could smell the scent of the man beside her. She couldn't help but feel a lot more at ease. After entering the entrance, a welcoming lady wearing a fiery red Chong Sam enthusiastically came forward and asked, "Dear sir and miss, do you have an appointment?" Li Jingjing was dazed for a moment before she remembered the appointed place. It's a private room called Kaffir Orchid. The welcoming lady smiled and made an inviting gesture. Please follow me. Along the way, they walked through the dimly lit corridor. The glass-like walls reflected a dazzling luster. The customer service staff that came and went were all handsome and beautiful. It seemed that the treatment here was definitely not low. When they arrived at the entrance with the 3 white characters Kaffir Orchid written on it, the welcoming lady smiled and made an inviting gesture. Yang Cheng took out a $100 bill from his pocket. The welcoming lady was not surprised and said, "Thank you." She then took the bill and left. Li Jingjing looked at Yang Cheng in surprise. "Brother Yang, it's $100 just to lead the way." This kind of place is generally managed according to some of the spending methods in Europe and the United States. These service staff don't get paid, and they only get tips. In fact, it's only $12 in US dollars. It's not much, Yang Cheng explained. I almost forgot, big brother Yang, you're still a sea turtle. Li Jingjing couldn't care less about the heartache of the money and said with a chuckle. Yang Cheng didn't want to talk about this. He gently opened the door to the private room. As soon as he pushed it open, a deafening scream came from inside. Wanted to stay, but not being able to is the loneliest. A slightly plump, bespectacled man was shouting with all his might in front of the TV, holding a microphone in his hand, looking up at the sky with his eyes closed, singing to his heart's content. There were already many people sitting on the sofa in the big private room. There were at least 7 or 8 men and women. At this moment, when they saw Yang Cheng and Li Jingjing at the door, they were stunned at first, and then most of them revealed strange smiles. Our main character today is finally here. A thin female teacher with big wavy hair was the first to stand up and shout. Following that, a group of people stood up and applauded. The fat teacher who was singing like a pig being slaughtered just now also shouted, "Teacher Li, you didn't forget to bring your boyfriend to your first gathering. It seems that your relationship is deep." Li Jingjing shyly quickly let go of Yang Cheng's hand. Her face in the dark private room was so red that water was about to come out. "It's not what everyone thinks. Big brother Yang is not my boyfriend." "Then what is it?" Another male teacher asked with a chuckle. "Don't tell me he's your biological brother." Seeing that Li Jingjing was so anxious that she couldn't speak and had an anxious look, Yang Cheng had to go forward and explain, "Jingjing's father and I are friends across generations, so I take care of her as her big brother. Today, I happen to hear that everyone is holding a welcome party. She is too shy to come to the KTV alone, so I'm just accompanying her." A beautiful female teacher who was dressed up chuckled and said, "So it's like this. Handsome guy can sit next to me today. Teacher Li shouldn't mind, right?" As she said that, she winked at Li Jingjing. When Li Jingjing heard that, she subconsciously shook her head. "No, big brother Yang has to accompany me." As soon as her voice fell, everyone let out good-natured laughter. Yang Cheng also helplessly looked at the flustered and helpless Li Jingjing, whose face was flushed. This girl only knows how to make things worse. Just when the atmosphere in the private room was happy and harmonious, the door was pushed open again. A man wearing a Prussian shirt walked in. He looked to be in his early 20s. His hair was neatly combed, and his face was well-defined. At a glance, one could tell that he had a scholarly temperament. Seeing the person who came, the teachers greeted him, Team Leader Jiang. The man warmly smiled and greeted the teachers, then looked at Yang Cheng and Li Jingjing. When he saw the fashionable Li Jingjing, who was wearing hot pants, revealing a pair of slender, white, jade-like legs, his eyes flashed with a few traces of fire, and he praised, "Jingjing, you're really beautiful today. If you were to dress like this in school on a normal day, I reckon that all the teachers and students in the school would have to look at you." The other teachers were also very cooperative, praising how beautiful Li Jingjing's attire was. This kind of praise was somewhat exaggerated, but all women loved to hear others say that they were beautiful. Li Jingjing was no exception. She didn't think much of it, and only shyly bowed her head and said, "Thank you." When he saw Yang Cheng, the man squinted his eyes, then gently smiled and extended his hand. "This should be the Mr. Yang that Jingjing talked about. This humble servant is Jiang Shua, the English team leader of First High School. May I know how to address Mr. Yang, and where do you work? Yang Cheng secretly thought in his heart, another smiling tiger. He didn't think much of it as he shook hands. Yang Cheng, you can call me anything. I'm just a small company employee, buying breakfast and running errands. When he heard this, Jiang Shua's eyes immediately flashed, and his back straightened. With a bit of arrogance, he said, Mr. Yang doesn't need to be so modest. Everyone is still young, and if you work hard in the future, there will be a day when you'll be successful. Maybe someone like me, Jiang Shua, will have a higher starting point. Oh, maybe Mr. Yang doesn't know, but my father, Mr. Jiang Meng, is the principal of First High School and the deputy director of Zhonghai's Education Bureau. That's why I was able to become the English team leader and the deputy director of teaching at such a young age, because of my father. I'm ashamed to say that other than publishing a few papers in some national educational journals and taking a team abroad a few times, I haven't done anything decent. Who knows, in the future, Mr. Yang's achievements might even be above mine. Team leader Jiang is too modest. Who here doesn't know that team leader Jiang is the future hope of our First High School and the most eye-catching new star in the education world? A middle-aged female teacher immediately said, That's right. The skinny female teacher also smiled and echoed, Who knows, maybe in a few years, team leader Jiang will become our First High School's principal. In terms of ability, no one can be as convincing as team leader Jiang. All of a sudden, the teachers all said a bunch of words of praise, and Jiang Shi humbly smiled, waved his hand, and said, I don't deserve it. Yang Cheng's eyes were opened, and he rubbed his nose to hide his smile. He had seen shameless people, but he had never seen someone more shameless than him. Looks like I'm not alone. At least this brother in front of me has skin as thick as a city wall. Chapter 61. Li Jingjing had a simple personality. When she heard everyone praising Jiang Shua, she went along with the tide and said a few nice words. These words made Jiang Shua feel like he was sitting on clouds. He directly felt that Li Jingjing actually wanted to get close to him and get some benefits. He couldn't help but feel proud of himself. How could a worker of a small company compare to a rich kid like him? Jiang Shua felt that he had thought too much before. There was no need to pressure Yang Cheng. At this time, Jiang Shua felt that he had to be more mature and calm. He had to express a sense of respect, so he immediately greeted everyone. Everyone, please sit down. All the expenses today will be paid by me. Don't be polite. When he saw Li Jingjing, Jiang Shua smiled gently and said, Jingjing, you may not be familiar with this place. Why don't you sit next to me, and I will tell you everything here. I guarantee that you'll have a good time today. Li Jingjing quickly waved her hand and said with a smile, No need, Chief Jiang. Everyone can enjoy themselves. I don't know anything about singing or dancing. I will just sit next to Brother Yang and watch. Jiang Shua's hopes were dashed, and he was a little annoyed. However, he only thought of Li Jingjing as a shy young bird. So he pretended to be generous and smiled. All right then, you can sit next to Mr. Yang. If there is anything you need, don't be polite. Don't be polite. Of course, I won't be polite. Isn't being polite to group leader Jiang disrespecting group leader Jiang? Yang Cheng smiled and said, Why don't we have a few bottles of red wine to liven things up? Everyone will have more energy to sing. Jiang Shua felt a burst of contempt in his heart. He secretly cursed this bumpkin for taking advantage of others. However, he naturally wouldn't care about a few bottles of red wine. He waved his hand and smiled. Of course, what red wine does Mr. Yang want to drink? Just go out and order a few bottles. The teachers sitting around were also in high spirits. Although they were rich, the more wine they could drink for free, the better. Yang Qing showed a look of worship and immediately went out to call a waiter. After saying a few words, he immediately returned to his seat and sat close to Li Jingjing. He smiled and said, Group leader Jiang is really a big shot. I ordered 5 bottles of red wine. I don't know if it will be enough. 5 bottles? Jiang Shua sneered in his heart. Even if it was 10 bottles, it would not be considered a lot of money. Mr. Yang is too polite. There are so many people, 5 bottles are definitely not enough. Just ask for a few more bottles later. The efficiency of the waiters in the heavenly province was very high. They had just talked for a while when a bucket of iced red wine was sent in. When everyone saw the 5 bottles of red wine in the bucket, they were immediately dumbfounded. The 5 bottles were impressively 98 French Castel red wine. Anyone with a certain level of knowledge would know that this red wine was a brand from Bordeaux, France. Furthermore, it was one of the best wineries in France. Furthermore, it had been aged for more than 10 years. It was impossible for it to be worth less than 1,000. Jiang Shuo was naturally most aware of the price of these bottles of wine. He never would have thought that Yang Cheng would order this kind of red wine. He'd thought that it would be an ordinary red wine that cost over $100 a bottle. Seeing $5,000 or $6,000 fly out his pocket, Jiang Shuo had the urge to vomit blood. It's all thanks to team leader Jiang. Normally, I wouldn't even dare to think about drinking this kind of wine. A few of the more quick-witted teachers also saw through Yang Cheng's intentions. While secretly mocking him, they cooperated and said some good words. Jiang Shuo's smile was a bit stiff as he waved his hand and said, "It's nothing, as long as everyone is happy." His originally exuberant mood was now as irritable as a small island that had been hit by a thunderstorm. Stealthily sizing up Yang Cheng, who was laughing and chatting with a few teachers, Jiang Shuo pondered whether he should find an opportunity to punish this guy who didn't know how to appreciate favors. The teachers in the room didn't care too much. They had already started to get high. One by one, they took turns to dance and sing to their heart's content. They didn't have the slightest bit of the steadiness of a teacher. Who knew if their students would be taken aback if they saw their current appearance? Li Jingjing sat quietly on the sofa listening, occasionally eating a piece of fruit. Her tranquil expression carried a slight smile, but she didn't participate in the singing. Jiang Shuo collected his mood. Seeing Li Jingjing attentively listening to the singing, he immediately had an idea. He took the microphone and said, "Today is a welcoming party for our teacher, Li Jingjing. As the team leader, I will specially sing a song for Jingjing to express my sincerity at this moment." The teachers all knew what Jiang Shuo meant to Li Jingjing, so they cooperated and applauded. Li Jingjing was a bit at a loss. She nervously looked at Yang Cheng beside her. Seeing that Yang Cheng didn't say anything, she relaxed a bit. At this moment, Jiang Shuo was already full of emotion. He selected a song and said, "I will sing this song, Infatuation, for Miss Li Jingjing." To be honest, team leader Zhang's voice was not bad. Although he didn't sing a few high notes, the entire song of Li Shengjie's absolute infatuation was sung with strong emotions. He had probably sung it 700 or 800 times. If an ordinary girl heard it, she would definitely be moved. The teachers all applauded loudly. Li Jingjing also cooperated and said, "Thank you," and clapped. Jiang Shuo was a bit proud, but he suddenly discovered that Yang Cheng didn't applaud. Instead, he kept pouring wine for himself. He couldn't help but feel a burst of anger in his heart. He laughed weirdly and said, "Mr. Yang hasn't sung since just now. I wonder if he can sing a song for everyone to enjoy?" Yang Cheng frowned and put down his wine glass. He awkwardly smiled and said, "I don't think that's necessary. I don't really know how to sing." "How can that be? Everyone has already sung. Whether it's good or bad is secondary. It's just participation." Jiang Shuo felt that he finally had the chance to make Yang Cheng look bad. He immediately hit the nail on the head and said, "After Mr. Yang sings, let's ask Li Jingjing to sing as well. What does everyone think?" The teachers all ate and drank at Jiang Shuo's expense, so they naturally agreed to his small request. They all shouted that they wanted to ask Yang Cheng and Li Jingjing to sing. Although Li Jingjing didn't dare to sing, she really wanted to listen to Yang Cheng's voice. After all, when a woman was infatuated with a man, she would want to understand everything about him. "Big brother Yang, just sing one song. It doesn't matter if you don't sing well. Let everyone be happy." Li Jingjing couldn't help but be curious and egged him on. Yang Cheng was helpless. He scratched his head and could only take the microphone. He slowly stood up and said, "Actually, I just came back from abroad half a year ago, so I haven't heard much of the popular songs in our country. If I really want to sing, please allow me to choose a song from another country. Mr. Yang is a returnee." "No way. A real person doesn't show his true colors. It's not good to brag. A few teachers immediately jeered. They obviously didn't believe that the man in front of them was a returnee. Otherwise, how could he be an employee of a small company? Jiang Shuo felt that Yang Cheng was evading. He smiled proudly and said, "It's no big deal. Mr. Yang can choose a foreign language song. We are all English teachers here, so we can still understand." That's right, that's right. The teachers were also interested. Yang Cheng cleared his throat, chose a song on the computer, and played it. He smiled at everyone and said, "I'm sorry, I don't intend to sing an English song. Next, I will sing a Spanish song by Latin singer Enrique Iglesias, Quizás. When translated into Mandarin, it should be maybe the soothing music with a strong Spanish flavor filled the private room." Yang Cheng's voice was slightly hoarse, and he began to perform the song just right. "Estás perdiendo el tiempo, pensando, por lo que más te quieres. Hasta cuándo? Hasta cuándo? Why así pasan los días? Why yo desesperando?" Almost everyone present widened their eyes in disbelief. Jiang Shuo felt as if an egg was stuck in his throat. The melodious music matched with a slightly unrestrained and indulgent voice. A Spanish love song immersed everyone in a wonderful and touching scene. The moment the music stopped, everyone present except Jiang Shuo applauded with all their might. Li Jingjing's eyes were a little moist, and she revealed a happy and intoxicated smile. Yang Cheng was a little embarrassed. He rejected the teacher's strong request for him to sing another song. He only said that singing is too tiring and didn't sing anymore. This time, no one suspected that Yang Cheng was afraid of making a fool of himself. After all, everyone was a foreign language teacher. They understood that knowing a foreign language and singing a foreign language song were not on the same level. Many times, to test a person's foreign language proficiency, one only needed to look at their ability to listen to foreign language songs to roughly judge. The fun that followed was still very joyous, but Jiang Shuo, who was forcing himself to smile, constantly cursed the women in Yang Cheng's family in his heart. Unfortunately, he didn't know that even Yang Cheng didn't know them, because they started playing a little early and they still had to go to school the next day. The teachers decided to go home before 10 o'clock. As they walked out, everyone's faces were a little drunk and their voices were a lot louder. Yang Cheng was chatting quite enthusiastically with a few of the male teachers. He was walking past a corner when he caught a glimpse of a familiar figure walking in from the corner of his eye. "Why is he here?" Li Jingjing, who had been paying attention to Yang Cheng, saw Yang Cheng frown and asked with concern, "Brother Yang, what's wrong?" "Oh," Yang Cheng smiled at her. "It's nothing. I think I saw someone familiar, but I must have seen wrongly." The group left the country of Heavenly Province. Before leaving, Jiang Shuo painfully paid over $10,000 and then walked toward the parking lot. Although he was depressed all night, Jiang Shuo didn't forget his main goal. He quickly walked to Li Jingjing's side and said with a graceful smile, "Jingjing, how about I send you back? I bought a new car, and I could take you for a ride." As he said this, Jiang Shuo pointed to a brand new silver-gray Toyota Camry not far away. Under the illumination of the street lights, it indeed looked very beautiful. The teachers were a little envious. This car costs over $200,000. Now that gas prices are still expensive, group leader Jiang still needs to change to a new car. Comparing people is killing people. Although the teachers' salaries weren't low, most of them only drove Ford, Bora, and other small cars that cost over $100,000. Li Jingjing smiled with some difficulty and said in a small voice, "Group leader Jiang, I don't think I'll trouble you. I'm already very apologetic that you treated me like this today. I'll take Big Brother Yang's car back. Big Brother Yang is also familiar with where my house is." Jiang Shuo pretended to be curious and asked, "Oh, Mr. Yang also drove here? I thought it was a taxi. May I know where Mr. Yang's car is?" Yang Cheng burped. His stomach was full of wine and fruits. Even though his alcohol tolerance had recovered, he still felt a little uncomfortable. His mind was still thinking about the figure he had just seen. Hearing Jiang Shuo's question, he casually took out the BMW key from his pants pocket and pressed the unlock button. Everyone turned their heads to look. They saw a white car emitting light parked in an inconspicuous location. The blue and white propeller-shaped logo on the front of the car made everyone suck in a breath of cold air. My God, isn't that an M3? A teacher who had some knowledge of cars shouted with shining eyes, "This car sells for over $1 million in the country. $200,000 or $300,000. I've seen a few rich businessmen's sons drive them before. I didn't expect Mr. Yang to also drive this car, and it's even the latest model." Although the other teachers didn't know what the model of the car represented, seeing that it was a BMW, they understood what grade the car was. Jiang Shuo was also shocked. Then his face turned green and purple. No matter how stupid he was, he wouldn't be stupid enough to think that the person driving the BMW M3 was an ordinary company employee. Although he was puzzled about Yang Cheng's identity, he could only reveal a friendly and somewhat flattering smile. Mr. Yang really is a real person who doesn't show his true colors. Jiang Shuo, have my eyes opened. Damn it! A rich person pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Why is he pretending to be a small employee? Group leader Jiang is the one who is generous. Yang Cheng laughed. I've drunk enough today. Thank you for your hospitality. Goodbye. As he said this, he pulled Li Jingjing's hand and walked back to the car. The group of teachers enviously watched the white BMW start up and drive away. They all felt like they were dreaming. Yang Cheng's background also became the biggest mystery in these people's hearts. After Jiang Shuo sat in the car, he started it up and looked at the dazzling lights in the car. His original fondness for the new car was completely gone. He slammed the steering wheel hard, his scholarly face looking a bit sinister in the dark. Chapter 62. Li Jingjing, who was sitting in Yang Cheng's car, felt that today was the happiest day of her life. She was even more excited than the day she graduated from university. The girl's face was brimming with a sweet smile, which made Yang Cheng, who was driving, not know what to say. Are you that happy? Yang Cheng couldn't help but ask. Li Jingjing nodded seriously. But I don't think group leader Jiang is very happy. Yang Cheng looked at Li Jingjing thoughtfully and couldn't help but laugh. So you know everything, girl, and you still pretend to be at a loss. Hee hee. Li Jingjing pursed her lips and laughed. Actually, I don't know everything, but if I think about it carefully, I can still understand some of the things Big Brother Yang does. Listen, if that Jiang Shuo bullies you in the future and makes things difficult for you, just tell me. I will help you solve it, just like last time with the Chun family's father and son. Yang Cheng said solemnly. And got it, Big Brother Yang. From beginning to end, Li Jingjing didn't ask much about the Chun family's father and son. Her intelligence made Yang Cheng a little surprised, but he also felt relieved. This girl might know a lot more than he thought, but most of the time, she was willing to be a silly girl next door, silently caring for him. When they arrived at Li Jingjing's house, old Li and his wife were just coming back from a walk. Seeing Yang Cheng and Li Jingjing get out of the car, they both revealed a surprised expression. Good boy. We're rich. Old Li saw Yang Cheng's car and couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. I knew little Yang wasn't simple. So fast, you changed your job, and even changed your one-wheeled car to a four-wheeled one. Mother Li's eyes were fixed on the big and small bags of clothes that Li Jingjing took out from the car. She asked nervously, Jingjing, why did you buy so many clothes? These bags are so beautiful. The clothes must be expensive? Mom, Li Jingjing called out shyly and said, Big Brother Yang bought them for me. The old couple had a strange look on their faces, but they seemed to be happy. The way they looked at Yang Shun became more and more affectionate. Li Jingjing knew what her parents were thinking, but if she said that Yang Cheng was married, then she would definitely not be allowed to contact Yang Cheng in the future. So she had to endure the embarrassment, pick up a pile of clothes, and jog into the house. She even forgot to say goodbye to Yang Cheng. Old Li earnestly said, Little Yang, Jingjing has had a hard time since she was young. Don't let her down. Yang Cheng, who didn't know whether to laugh or cry, didn't know what to do either. He could only nod and smile honestly. Explaining at this time would be superfluous and would only cause more trouble. After saying goodbye to the old couple who treated him like a son-in-law, Yang Cheng felt lost. While driving, He thought that if he hadn't accidentally met that iceberg woman, Lin Ruoshi, marrying Li Jingjing would have been a good choice. She was sensible and virtuous. But when he thought that his wife was still lying in the hospital, Yang Chung dispelled this thought. No matter what, he had to walk down this path with Lin Ruoshi first. As for the future, who could predict it? When he drove back to Dragon Garden, the temperature outside had already turned cold. The cold wind blew through the treetops, making the spacious villa area especially quiet. Just when Yang Chung was about to open the door and enter the house, he saw Mother Wang open the door from the inside. "Mother Wang, why are you going out so late?" Yang Chung asked in confusion. Mother Wang was a little happy and said with a smile, "Young master, you're back. Just in time. I was going to send the books that Miss wanted to the hospital. Although Miss promised to recuperate for half a month, she said that she must read. Why don't you go with me? I think Miss will be very happy." Even if she is happy, I can't see it. Yang Chung thought and said, "It's so late. Mother Wang, why don't you rest early? I'll send the books alone." Mother Wang thought that the young couple wanted some privacy, so she didn't say much. She immediately handed a large plastic bag of books to Yang Chung and went back to the house. Yang Chung, who had just returned home, set off again and went to the first hospital of Zhonghai for the second time in a day. After more than half an hour, when he arrived at Lin Ruoshi's ward, the lights in the ward were still on, but Lin Ruoshi was not alone in the room. Sitting beside the bed was a woman that Yang Chung didn't want to see, even if she was a great beauty. Oh, a busy person still knows to come to the hospital to visit a patient. Mo Chinyi seemed to be discussing something with Lin Ruoshi. Seeing Yang Chung enter the door, she sneered. Yang Chung didn't pay attention to his superior, who was looking for trouble. He smiled and put a bag of books on the bedside table. Mother Wang is old, and it's too tiring to go out at night. I'll send it on her behalf. You can tell me about this kind of thing later. It's too hard for Mother Wang to do it. Lin Ruoshi glanced at the books and said, I'll call you next time. Yang Chung was quite satisfied that Lin Ruoshi could listen to his words. It seemed that this woman was quite rational, not simply indifferent. Mo Chinyi wrinkled her nose and said in dissatisfaction, Yang Chun, your body reeks of tobacco and alcohol. Stay away. Don't let Ruoshi get suffocated. Oh. Yang Chung smiled embarrassedly and walked away a few steps. I drank with a few friends I just met. I forgot that I haven't taken a shower. Humph. Ruoshi is tired and sick in bed. You, as her husband, are still playing around outside. Don't you know shame? Mo Chinyi sneered with disdain. Even a clay bodhisattva had 3 points of anger. Yang Chung was a little impatient. I say, my legal wife hasn't even said half a word. Why are you yelling at me? The emperor is not anxious, but the eunuch is. What did you say? Mo Chinyi stood up with her almond-shaped eyes. Her plump chest was constantly moving up and down because of her anger. Her charming face blushed. You dare to say that I'm a eunuch? You're the eunuch. Whether I'm a eunuch or not, won't you know if you try? Yang Chung smiled evilly. You're shameless. Okay, Lin Ruoshi finally shouted. She frowned and looked back and forth between Yang Chung and Mo Chinyi. She touched her forehead with a headache. Can you two not quarrel in the hospital? It's late at night. Can't you be quiet? Mo Chinyi coquettishly pulled Lin Ruoshi's hand. Ruoshi, look at your husband. Who does he think he is? When you're sick, he doesn't come and take care of you. Instead, he has the leisure to fool around outside. Lin Ruoshi was silent for a moment. She raised her head and asked Yang Chung, where did you go to drink? Yang Chung, who was a little annoyed, lazily replied, Heavenly Province. I have several women. Why? My wife wants to control me? Oh, got it. Lin Ruoshi nodded. Then, as if nothing had happened, she reached out and took out a book from the plastic bag. She began to flip through the book. Seeing that everything was fine, Yang Chung sighed and shook his head. He walked out of the ward. Only Mo Chinyi was left sitting at the side. She looked at the door and then looked at Lin Ruoshi, who was engrossed in flipping through the book. She opened her mouth and was stunned. For a long time, she couldn't say anything. Finally, she choked out a sentence. You husband and wife are both weird people. Chapter 63. After tossing and turning all night, Yang Cheng's sleep wasn't affected. Early the next morning, he went to the breakfast stalls as usual and came back to the office with bags of food. The beauties had long been waiting for Yang Cheng's arrival, and when they saw him, they all rushed forward to take away their favorite breakfast. A few of the more daring girls even left wet marks on Yang Cheng's face. Zhao Hongyan teased him with a smile. "Did you know that breakfast would be treated like this, so you rushed to make it?" Yang Cheng wasn't embarrassed at all. He chewed on his youtiao and said with a smile, "If you give me a kiss, I'll tell you. You only know how to flirt with innocent women." Zhao Hongyan rolled her eyes and ignored him. Suddenly remembering something, Yang Chun carried a meat bun and walked to the nearby desk of his male compatriot, Chen Bo. To his surprise, he discovered that Chen Bo was actually dozing off on his desk early in the morning. "Hey, Chen Bo, it's time for breakfast." Yang Cheng pushed him. Chen Bo softly murmured, then rubbed her reddened eyes and straightened her body, looking like a proper daughter. Seeing the steamed bun that Yang Chun handed over, she revealed a small, charming smile. "Thank you for bringing me breakfast every day." Yang Cheng looked at him with a profound look and said, "Don't be too tired. If you need any help, you can tell us. Maybe we can help you." Chen Bo's face suddenly turned ugly. There was a hint of panic in his pale eyes. He quickly blinked. "No, nothing. I just didn't sleep well last night. Don't force yourself." Yang Cheng didn't ask any more questions. He patted Chen Bo's shoulder and walked back to his seat to start playing games. Not long after, a beautiful woman walked into the office. She walked over to Lu Mingyu's seat and talked to Lu Mingyu about something. Lu Mingyu, who was wearing a moon-white dress suit, was clearly embarrassed, but in the end, she seemed to have no choice but to pack up the documents and follow the girl out. Just as the two of them left, the round-faced Zhang Kai, who was still eating her cake, rushed over. With a worried expression, she said to Zhao Hongyan, "Big Sister Hongyan, Big Sister Mingyu will be fine, right? That department head ma has been pestering her for so long. Why hasn't he given up yet?" "That woman was sent by department head ma?" Yang Cheng asked doubtfully. Zhao Hongyan frowned and nodded. "She's a director under department head ma. Everyone in the company knows that she's department head ma's lover. I just don't know why department head ma is looking for Big Sister Mingyu. In the past, department head ma came over himself. I don't know why he sent that woman over this time." Yang Cheng pondered for a moment, then took out his phone and sent a text message to Lu Mingyu. Not long after, Lu Mingyu replied to Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng only glanced at it, then put the phone back in his pocket. He picked up the 2 meat buns on the table and walked out of the office. "Yang Cheng, where are you going?" Zhao Hongyan said anxiously. "Department head Mo won't see you again. You're going to suffer again. My stomach isn't feeling well. I'm going to the toilet to eat." Yang Cheng turned around and said. The group of beautiful female public relations staff suddenly had black lines on their faces and pouted coquettishly. Of course, Yang Cheng could not really go to the toilet to squat and eat buns, although he would still have a good appetite to eat them. When he walked out of the public relations department hall, Yang Cheng directly entered the elevator and went all the way down to the underground parking lot. He previously sent a text message to Lu Mingyu asking her where she was going. Lu Mingyu clearly knew the meaning of Yang Cheng and sent a message back saying Flowing Cloud Hotel. Although she couldn't be certain that this trip to work was department head ma's trap, Lu Mingyu was still a mature woman with a strong sense of self-preservation. She wisely chose to tell Yang Cheng. At the very least, she had to let others know of her whereabouts. As for what Yang Cheng would do after knowing this information, it was not something that Lu Mingyu could think of. Yang Cheng did not deliberately choose to follow her to Flowing Cloud Hotel. Instead, he drove as fast as he could to the hotel lobby. He took a newspaper and quietly sat on a sofa in the corner of the lobby. Flowing Cloud Hotel had a 4-star configuration. It was also one of the more famous business hotels in the center of Zhonghai City. The guests coming in and out of the resplendent lobby were particularly dense. No one would notice a sudden additional person sitting in the corner of the lobby reading a newspaper. After waiting for more than 5 minutes, Yang Cheng finally noticed the 2 figures that appeared at the entrance of the hotel. It was still that gorgeous woman, leading Lu Mingyu, who was wearing a moon-white dress suit, into the hotel. Both of them were good-looking, with a well-developed and tall figure. Lu Mingyu seemed to have touched up her makeup in the car. Her long hair was tied up high with a few strands of drunken red hair. Paired with that mature and bright face, she attracted the gazes of most of the men in the lobby. After entering the door, Lu Mingyu intentionally or unintentionally looked left and right. She slightly wrinkled her eyebrows with a somewhat disappointed expression, but it disappeared in a flash. After the woman talked with her for a bit, Lu Mingyu hesitated, but in the end, she still followed them into the elevator and began to go upstairs. Yang Cheng quickly walked to the elevator and looked at the rising number of the elevator. It started from the first floor, stopped for a moment at the 5th floor, and then went to the 13th floor. After stopping for a moment, it continued to go up to the top floor before it began to descend. Looking at the hotel floor introduction on the side, the 5th floor was a leisure and bath center, the 10th to 15th floors were the guest rooms, and the top floor was the work area. Obviously, in this situation, the guest rooms were the most likely. After entering the elevator, Yang Cheng took out his phone and tried to call Lu Mingyu to confirm the location. The number you have dialed is powered off. The appearance of the electronic voice gave Yang Cheng a bad feeling. In order to not miss business, a public relations person like Lu Mingyu should not turn off her phone 24/7. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for her to turn off her phone easily, not to mention that she had sent him a text message before. After the elevator reached the 13th floor, Yang Cheng walked out of the elevator. The corridor was very long, and it looked like there were at least 30 to 40 rooms. Because it was morning working hours, the corridor was silent, and even the hotel service staff was not on the guest room floor. Since there was no one to ask, Yang Chun naturally couldn't check every single room. Furthermore, what gave him a headache was that the locks of these rooms were all electronic, which meant that without a magnetic card, it was impossible to open the locks by physical means. Unless Yang Chun wanted to be in the headlines and use force to break down all the doors. Then, he would be completely famous. This guy's surname Ma is quite good at finding places. Yang Cheng muttered to himself, considering whether he should really use some violent means. Although he had only known Lu Mingyu, his new colleague, for about half a month, everyone got along well. The feelings between people did not need a long time to be sincere and reliable, especially between men and women. If they could trust each other, it was worth doing something for each other. Taking a step back, if such a beautiful and mature woman was slept with by the old man, surnamed Ma, Yang Cheng would definitely feel worse than if he had eaten a fly. Just as he was having a headache, he heard the sound of a door opening and closing from the easternmost corner not far away. The woman with heavy makeup, who had just led Lu Mingyu upstairs, was smiling and walking out. Chapter 64. Yang Cheng had the urge to thank that woman. She really knew how to help him in his hour of need. Just as he was worrying about how to find her, she provided him with the best way. Seeing the woman say goodbye to the door in the room and walk back to the elevator with her head down, Yang Cheng also put on a relaxed expression and walked towards the woman. "Miss, how much did you get?" The gorgeous woman stopped in her tracks and carefully raised her head to look at the young man who suddenly appeared in front of her. She vigilantly said, "What did you say?" Because Yang Cheng had just entered Ulate International not long ago, this woman obviously didn't know Yang Cheng. "I don't mean anything else. Miss, even if you don't have any credit, you still put in a lot of hard work. I won't rob you of your commission, but I hope that Miss will cooperate and help me knock on the door over there." Yang Cheng smiled innocently. The woman squinted her eyes and said in a low voice, "You followed me? Aren't you afraid of me calling the police?" "I'm really afraid that you won't call the police," Yang Cheng said. "You're crazy." The lady decided to ignore Yang Cheng and nervously wanted to leave. Yang Cheng naturally wouldn't let her go. He casually grabbed the woman's soft arm and pulled it into his embrace. Taking advantage of the situation, his hands wrapped around the woman's chest and pinched the 2 lumps of pink flesh. "You." The woman was shocked and angry at the same time. She only felt that the mountain peaks on her chest were completely covered by 2 hands, making her feel even more humiliated. This man's strength was too great, like a steel bar. She couldn't break free at all. Let go, or else I'll scream. I'll sue you for rape. The woman was ashamed and angry as she threatened. Yang Chung didn't mind and smiled. His two hands grabbed the ball of flesh and squeezed a little, causing the woman to scream. It doesn't feel natural. You must have done it the day after. Yang Chung smiled evilly. You can scream. You can also sue me. But before that, I'll strip you naked and throw you into the elevator. Anyway, no one will pass by here. Don't doubt my stripping speed. Think about it. Take the elevator to the first floor and then kick you into the lobby. The lobby on the first floor is so bright and there are so many people. You can show off your figure. If you're unhappy, it doesn't matter if you want the police to arrest me. I only stripped you of your clothes. I don't even need to go to jail. If you want to sue me, fine. It's not a big deal anyway. Of course, if you do it, you can use your phone to take photos and videos. Just give it a name and post it on the internet. Let's say, Female White Collar Hotel Tour. That's a good name, right? The lady's face immediately turned pale. If it was really as this man said, even if she received compensation, her reputation would be ruined, and she would no longer be able to mingle in society. Therefore, he angrily said, Don't try to threaten me. I have no idea what you're talking about. If you don't let me go, I'll scream. I don't believe you'll dare to do anything to me. Hiss. Only the sound of cloth ripping could be heard. The lady was stunned to see that half of her skirt had been torn off, revealing the white stockings and white thighs inside. Yang Cheng's slightly sinister voice sounded again. He said with some impatience, You'd better not test my patience. Next time, I'll tear your chest. You? What exactly do you want? The lady was so frightened that she wanted to use her hands to cover her skirt, but her hands were held down by Yang Chun. With tears in her eyes, she begged, Please don't. I only listened to someone else. Yang Chung sneered. Wouldn't it have been over if we had cooperated earlier? You just need to listen to me. I won't make things difficult for you. In the guest room, Lu Mingyu sat on the soft bed. Her hands struggled to support herself on the mattress. She could not open her eyes. Looking at Department Head Ma, who had already stripped down to his boxer shorts, she gritted her teeth and tried to force herself to stay awake. Although she had always been on guard, she did not expect that Department Head Ma would collude with the client she was supposed to meet today and abduct her to this place. What was even more impossible to guard against was that on the way here, the mineral water that the accomplice woman handed over was actually filled with sleeping pills. Lu Mingyu felt that she was still thinking too simply. She thought that she only needed to guard against Department Head Ma himself. She did not expect that the other party had already set up such a detailed trap, waiting for her to fall into it. At the thought of this short, fat, old man with a protruding belly and gray chest hair doing some unbearable things to her, no matter how strong Lu Mingyu was usually, she could not help but tear up. She suddenly remembered that Yang Chung had asked her about her destination. At first, she did not pay much attention to it and just casually replied with a text message. But now, Lu Mingyu had never hoped that the young man she had just met would suddenly appear like a hero in a movie, even if it was absurd and unrealistic. Department Head Ma's pair of small eyes were filled with greed and lust, as well as a bit of fanaticism. Looking at the mature beauty in front of him, who was wearing an office lady's dress that outlined her perfect curves, his lips revealed a smile of having succeeded in his scheme. Lu Mingyu, Lu Mingyu, do you think that I really can't deal with you just because you're pretending to be a virgin? I, old Ma, have never been unable to play with a woman in my life. Today, you should properly enjoy yourself. I have even brought a video camera. Later, I will strip you naked and make a few beautiful poses to properly keep. Department Head Ma walked forward and looked at the already drowsy Lu Mingyu. He laughed evilly and said, When you wake up, I will let you properly enjoy yourself. Then, you can consider whether or not you want to properly serve me. A trace of despair and pain flashed through Lu Mingyu's eyes, but in the end, she could not resist the drowsiness brought about by the drugs. She softly fell onto the bed, muttered a few words, and then lost consciousness. Department Head Ma's index finger moved. Just as he was about to pounce on this alluring beauty, he heard the doorbell ringing from outside. Feeling a burst of unhappiness, Department Head Ma frowned and retracted his hand. He walked to the door and looked through the peephole. When he saw the familiar, gorgeous woman's face, he relaxed. The door was half opened, and Department Head Ma said with an evil smile, "What's wrong? Little vixen, don't tell me that you are jealous and want to feed you before you are willing to leave?" The woman's smile was very stiff. She did not say a single word, as if she had eaten a bitter gourd. But slowly, the figure of a man walked out from beside her. "It's you?" Department Head Ma's face turned cold. He immediately recognized that this was the man who embarrassed him in the company corridor and ruined his good time. Why would he suddenly appear here? Thinking of the key point, Department Head Ma's reaction was very fast. He retracted his head and immediately tried to close the door. Bang! Yang Chung suddenly pushed the door with one hand and suddenly exerted force, causing Department Head Ma, who was holding the door, to be pushed into the room and sit on the carpet. "Your attitude is not friendly enough, Department Head Ma." Yang Chung smiled meaningfully. At the same time, he pulled the gorgeous woman into the room and closed the door. Chapter 65. Feeling the pain in his butt, Department Head Ma, who was sitting on the ground, panicked. Everything was originally so perfect and flawless. All he had to do was take off Lu Mingyu's clothes, take a group of photos, and record a video. Then, one of the most sought-after beauties in the company would become another one of his lovers. But why did this jinx suddenly appear here? "What do you want? Who allowed you to come in?" Department Head Ma carefully stepped back and said fiercely. Yang Chun pushed the gorgeous lady onto one of the beds in the room. He glanced at Lu Mingyu, who was already unconscious on the other bed, and thought to himself, "I came just in time." Seeing that Yang Chung didn't speak, Department Head Ma slowly grabbed his clothes and moved towards the door. Yang Chung looked at everything in the room with interest. This Department Head Ma seemed to be a veteran. Not only did he bring all kinds of sex toys, but he also set up a video camera and placed a digital camera on the bed. He was indeed very professional. Seeing that Department Head Ma wanted to quietly walk to the door, Yang Chung smiled and stopped in front of Department Head Ma. "Hey, Department Head Ma, the show hasn't started yet. As the male lead, you can't leave." What show?" Department Head Ma stuttered. Yang Chung pouted and pointed at the video camera. "Whatever you wanted to film before, you can film it now." Department Head Ma was stunned, then said with surprise, "Could it be that you also want to play with this woman surnamed Lu? Fine. As long as you don't say anything, we can do her together." As he spoke, sparks appeared in his eyes again. He had also thought it through. Since the matter had been exposed, then dragging Yang Chung into the water was also a good choice. "Thank you for your kindness, Department Head Ma, but I don't want to participate in such a great artistic film," Yang Chung said with a weird smile. "Also, the female lead isn't Lu Mingyu, it's her." As he said that, Yang Chin pointed at the gorgeous lady on the bed who was as frightened as a cicada in winter. "I believe Department Head Ma is already very familiar with this young lady. When they take the photo, it will definitely be like a heavenly thunder and earthly fire. The scene will be spectacular, right?" Department Head Ma's expression changed greatly as he said in shock, "You want to threaten me?" No. I just want to keep some mementos of Department Head Ma's vigorous figure. As for whether it's a threat or not, it depends on whether Department Head Ma provokes me or my female colleagues in the future," Yang Chung said with a harmless smile. "Impossible. You'd better leave now. I know people on the streets. Be careful, or I'll call someone to do it." "Pa." Without waiting for Department Head Ma to finish, Yang Chung slapped his face. Department Head Ma was suddenly hit and only felt a scorching pain. Holding his left cheek, he widened his eyes in disbelief and pointed at Yang Chun. With a trembling voice, he said, "You dare hit me?" "Huh." An even louder slap landed on the right side of his face. A red handprint floated up. "I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. From now on, if you don't do what I want with this woman, I'll keep beating you until you're willing. You boorish, pa." Department Head Ma was just about to open his mouth when another 2 slaps landed on his face. He roared in anger and raised his fist, wanting to hit Yang Cheng's face as well. But how could an old man who was immersed in wine and women have any strength? Just as he raised his hand, his left cheek was slapped by Yang Chung with lightning speed. Huh. This slap was especially strong. Department head Ma was slapped to the ground and half of his face was swollen. Department head Ma cried in pain and shrank to the corner in fear. Don't come over. I really do have people protecting me. I don't know if you have people protecting you, but if you don't obediently take off your clothes, I'll help you take them off. Yang Chung said with a smile that wasn't a smile. The gorgeous lady on the bed had long been scared silly, seeing the usually arrogant and bossy department head Ma beaten to the point where even his parents wouldn't be able to recognize him. She shrunk into a ball on the bed and fearfully looked at Yang Chun. Cold sweat appeared on department head Ma's forehead. He wanted to resist, but he couldn't win and he couldn't escape. His heart was filled with despair. Looks like department head Ma isn't willing to cooperate. Yang Chung slowly walked closer and stretched out his hands as if he was going to do something. Department head Ma suddenly shouted, "Stop," and swallowed his saliva with difficulty and said, I'll listen to you, but you have to promise me that I won't provoke Lu Mingyu and the others. You can't threaten me. Yang Chun sighed and suddenly fiercely kicked Department head Ma's thigh. Ow! Department head Ma cried out in pain. He felt as if his thigh was pierced by an awl. You don't have the right to talk terms with me, and you don't have the right to doubt my words. I'm only asking you, are you going to do it or not? Yang Chung asked expressionlessly. Do it. Do it. Department head Ma had never been treated like this in his life. This was a scene of torture and confession that could only be seen in television dramas. He never thought that it would happen to him. He finally understood why the people in those movies couldn't take it and confessed. The feeling was indeed not good. Without waiting for Yang Cheng's instructions, Department head Ma crawled from the floor to the gorgeous girl's bed and angrily shouted, "Slut, quickly take off your clothes." But, the girl's eyes flashed with tears, revealing a somewhat humiliated and unwilling expression. Department head Ma, I don't want to pa. This time it was Department head Ma's turn to slap the woman. His rough and fat face twisted. If I tell you to take it off, then take it off. Why are you pretending to be a virtuous woman in front of me? The woman's tears flowed down, but she had no choice but to give in and start to undress, sobbing as she took off her clothes. Pink and white breasts, slender and perfectly round legs, and slightly plump buttocks were gradually revealed on the pure white bedsheet. If it was placed in those nightclubs, it would definitely be a high-end consumer product. By the time the woman had taken off her clothes, leaving only a bra and a short skirt, Yang Chung had already pointed the camera at the man and woman, excitedly watching the live erotic performance. Department head Ma had always been filming others, but this time it was his turn to be filmed. Although he wasn't used to it, thinking about how he was beaten up by Yang Chung, he could only endure the embarrassment and hug the girl and start kissing her all over. At first, the girl was still crying, but after some of her private parts were kissed, she gradually became aroused. She thought about how she was also this old man's lover anyway, so she didn't care about her face. After this time, her relationship with Department head Ma would definitely become closer. Being in the same boat, maybe she would be able to get more benefits in the future. Thinking about this, the unwillingness in the woman's heart also gradually dissipated. Because the two of them were both in front of the camera, and there was also a young man watching from the side, and under such a situation of being abused, the two of them couldn't help but have all kinds of evil thoughts in their hearts. The more they hugged, kissed, and lingered, the more they felt a strange pleasure. It was far more than when the two of them had an affair in the past. Chapter 66. Department head Ma felt his whole body heat up. He didn't care that he was being photographed. His big mouth started to ravage the young lady's body. His two hands also used all his strength to pinch the softness of the lady's chest. Then, he used all his strength to tear off the only black lace on the lady's body. The lady also started to passionately cater to him. She continuously kissed Department head Ma. A pair of slender, jade-like arms caressed the back of Department head Ma's fat waist. Yang Chung saw that the two of them were so engrossed. His heart was also a little hot. However, he naturally wouldn't be crazy enough to join the battle. Although the lady in front of him was a beauty, compared to the women beside him, she was still lacking. Moreover, he wasn't a casual person. Department head Ma, don't waste the props you brought. These things aren't cheap. It will be a waste if you don't use them, Yang Chung said with a bewitching smile. Department head Ma pulled his head out from the gap between the lady's crowded chest. His face was fiery red, and his eyes were filled with raging flames. He couldn't care less about Yang Chen's malicious smile, and quickly picked up a few toys he brought from the cabinet. He didn't care what they were, and started to use them with the lady. Woo-woo. Although the lady had received such treatment before, it was especially intense this time. Tears kept flowing. However, she didn't stop him. Instead, she tried her best to cooperate with Department Head Ma's crazy actions. The whimpers also became especially strange and charming. The battle became more and more intense. When Department Head Ma cut into the main act and started to work hard on the lady's body, it had already been more than half an hour. The two's foreplay was done well. The single bed was filled with the marks of the two's crazy actions. The stench of blood filled the air. Yang Chen also saw that he was interested and continuously suggested, Department Head Ma, don't just do one action. Change the position. The effect will be better. For a moment, the guest room really became a photography base. Other than directing the actions, Yang Chen would occasionally take a few wonderful photos. He continuously pressed the shutter and changed the angle of the camera. He was much more professional than when he was working in the company. Unfortunately, there was still a gap between Department Head Ma's actual combat level and his acting skills. In just 5 or 6 minutes, Department Head Ma had disarmed himself and laid on the girl's white back, panting and unable to move like a pug. The girl, however, was not satisfied. She swayed her plump buttocks, wanting to end the scene. Department Head Ma cursed vaguely. It was unknown what he was calling the maiden. He picked up a few strange tools, and with a series of actions, the maiden climbed to the peak. When both of them stopped, they realized what they had done. Seeing Yang Chung taking out the video camera and the SD card from the camera with satisfaction, they couldn't help but show some despair. You will keep your promise and not tell anyone, right? Department Head Ma asked cautiously. Due to the lingering fear, he covered his face with his hands and spoke in a very soft voice. As long as you behave yourself, I definitely won't be in the mood to play with you, Yang Chung said. Department Head Ma heaved a sigh of relief. But in order to be more at ease, he said, if I have the chance next time, I will definitely mention you to the HR department and the higher-ups so that you could be promoted as soon as possible. Yang Chung smiled and said, that doesn't matter, but I think it's best that you quickly take your woman and leave this place. I don't want to see you again. As for your equipment, I will also take them all away. Department Head Ma suddenly shivered. He grabbed the clothes that were thrown on the ground and quickly put them on. At the same time, he urged the girl who was lying on the ground to quickly put on her clothes. When the two of them carried their bags and were ready to leave as if they were fleeing for their lives, Yang Chung didn't forget to remind them, leave the money for the room. I will check out later. Department Head Ma staggered. He hurriedly took out a few large bills and placed them on the bed. Only then did he smile apologetically and rush out the door with the girl. It seemed that he didn't want to stay a moment longer. After the two of them left, Yang Chung simply tidied up the things in the room before sitting at the head of the bed where Lu Mingyu was sleeping. He chuckled and said, Sister Mingyu, don't pretend to be asleep. Your face is so red. If I didn't know better, I would have thought that you had high fever. Lu Mingyu slowly opened her eyes. Due to her shyness, her eyelashes were still trembling. Her bright and delicate face was especially pitiful. She slowly got up and weakly leaned against the head of the bed. She looked at Yang Chung with some embarrassment and tilted her head to the side. She whispered, You knew that I would wake up? The scene just now was indeed not suitable for you to wake up, so I told them to leave quickly. Otherwise, I was afraid that you would suffocate to death. Yang Chung answered truthfully. Lu Mingyu bit her lips and suddenly smiled sweetly. You are really bad. They were almost played to death by you. They were screaming like pigs being slaughtered. If I didn't play with them, they would think of ways to play with you. I don't think you are selfless to the point of sacrificing yourself for others. Sacrificing myself for others. That's nonsense. Lu Mingyu coquettishly pouted and rolled her eyes at Yang Cheng. But I still have to thank you. I have already accepted my fate. I didn't expect you to suddenly appear. For Lu Mingyu, everything in front of her had indeed changed too suddenly. Yang Cheng's appearance had directly pulled her from the bottom of the abyss to heaven. If it weren't for the training in the business world over the past few days, she would have long lost control and burst into tears. But there was no doubt that her gratitude towards Yang Cheng was exceptionally strong. Yang Cheng shrugged. It's no big deal, but I am very curious. Sister Mingyu, what do you think about the filming just now? Seeing Yang Cheng's strange expression, Lu Mingyu only felt her heart pounding. It was a little strange. She lowered her head and stroked her messy long hair. I only saw a little. I don't know anything. But I clearly remember that not long after they started kissing, you opened your eyes. Sister Mingyu, could it be that you selectively forgot? Lu Mingyu finally couldn't stand this ambiguous topic. She pounced over and patted Yang Cheng's back a few times. Her cheeks were crimson as she said, "That's right. I saw it. So what if I saw it? It's still your hooligan's fault. Sister Mingyu, you have to understand that the one who hurt you was department head Ma. I was especially concerned about you and came to save you." Yang Cheng said righteously. You knew that I was awake, but you still wanted them to do those despicable things. You must have bad intentions. Lu Mingyu complained, but then her beautiful eyes wandered and she asked, "You're already married, but you're not serious. Don't tell me that you and your wife also played like them?" Yang Cheng was suddenly at a loss for words. When he thought of those exciting things he did with Lin Ruoshi, he suddenly shuddered. Wouldn't that cut off his little brother? So he awkwardly laughed a few times. Let's end this topic here. Sister Mingyu, pack up. Let's go back to the company. Lu Mingyu had one backup point, so she didn't continue the topic. She frowned and nodded. The smell here is too bad. Let's go down quickly. When they came out of the Flowing Cloud Hotel, it was already lunchtime. Lu Mingyu was saved from death's door. Although she was a little scared, she was more happy. She looked at her watch and hesitated for a moment before saying to Yang Cheng, "Yang Cheng, I want to thank you properly. How about I treat you to lunch?" "Of course, but my appetite is quite big." "Sister Mingyu, did you bring enough money?" When Lu Mingyu saw that Yang Cheng had agreed, she happily rolled her eyes at him. "I'll make sure you eat until you're full and eat well." Chapter 67. Sitting in Yang Cheng's car, Lu Mingyu was a little surprised. "I didn't know that you drive a BMW every day to buy breakfast for us sisters in the office. It's really hard for a rich young master like you." "I'm not a rich young master. This car actually belongs to my wife." Yang Cheng didn't feel embarrassed. "Sister Mingyu, you can just think of me as a gigolo who's kept by a rich woman. Your face isn't white." Lu Mingyu giggled. "Moreover, you're much more useful than a gigolo." While the two were chatting and laughing, Yang Cheng started the car. After driving on a road, Yang Cheng asked Sister Mingyu, "What are you going to do with the recorded video and photos?" Lu Mingyu was silent for a while and said, "You can keep it or throw it away." "You don't want it? So what if I want it? I think after this, department head Ma won't be delusional anymore. I'm just an ordinary corporate employee. I don't want to cause so much trouble. As long as no one deliberately hurts me, that's enough." There was a bit of helplessness in her tone, but she spoke the truth. Yang Cheng also guessed that this was the case. He nodded without much surprise and didn't continue the topic. Instead, he asked, "Then, beautiful lady, as a thank you lunch, where should we go to eat?" Lu Mingyu rubbed her forehead sleepily. "Let's go to Mingxing Road. There are a few good restaurants there. You look very tired. Are you sleepy?" Yang Cheng noticed Lu Mingyu's small movements. It seems that the drug hasn't completely worn off. Lu Mingyu didn't hide anything. She did feel sleepy again. Yang Cheng frowned. "Then don't go eat. I'll send you home. You should rest first." "Thank you." A trace of warmth flowed through Lu Mingyu's heart. She suddenly found that the man beside her had a considerate side. "Let's go eat. I'm just a little sleepy, but I'm a little hungry." Following Lu Mingyu's instructions, The two quickly came to a refreshing Cantonese restaurant. It looked like a chain restaurant. It wasn't high-end, but it was in line with the fast-paced dining habits of the city. Not long after the two sat down, the food was quickly ordered. Yang Cheng didn't have enough breakfast in the morning because he helped Lu Mingyu deal with a dangerous situation. He was already hungry, so he began to wolf down the food. Can't you pay attention to your image? It is as if you haven't eaten for 3 years. Image is for men and women who have ideas. I'm married. Image is worthless. Yang Cheng chewed the food and said. The two were chatting when a man and 2 women suddenly came from behind Lu Mingyu. The woman was dressed conspicuously and had a petite figure. The 2 men in suits behind her obviously followed her lead. What a coincidence. I didn't expect that Miss Lu Mingyu would also ask a man to eat here. The woman looked at the 2 of them playfully and said with a smile. Lu Mingyu was slightly strange, but then she smiled and stood up. Isn't Miss Wang the same? And there are 2 men accompanying you. They're just my assistants. They just finished discussing something in a nearby company. We were just having a meal together. May I know how to address Miss Lu's boyfriend? Yang Cheng put down the bowl and chopsticks reluctantly. He said with a smile, My surname is Yang Cheng. Wang Yu. Nice to meet you. Wang Yu stretched out her hand with a confident smile. Yang Cheng gently shook hands with Wang Yu and sat down again to pick up the bowl and chopsticks to eat. Wang Yu cast a contemptuous look and sneered. I don't know what relationship Miss Lu has with Mr. Yang. Could it be that Mr. Yang is Miss Lu's new right-hand man? Lu Mingyu didn't back down. She smiled charmingly and said, Yang Cheng is just my colleague. We came out to do some work. Speaking of right-hand man, he is definitely not as right-hand man as Miss Wang's 2 assistants. Moreover, they are both tall and strong. Miss Wang will definitely be satisfied with them. The 2 women were at each other's throats. Their eyes were like cold wind blades, making Yang Cheng, who was eating, feel that the temperature had dropped several degrees. Miss Lu is too polite. I can see that Mr. Yang can eat so much, so he must have a lot of strength. He must have put in a lot of effort to do things for Miss Lu. By the way, Mr. Yang is so hungry. Did you consume too much physical strength? Wang Yu made a surprised expression. It seems that Miss Lu needs Mr. Yang to do a lot of things. No matter how much a person can eat, he can't be as strong as 2 people. Besides, 2 people can do things that 1 person can't do. What do you think, Miss Wang? Lu Mingyu also didn't hesitate to fight back. You can bicker, but why drag me into it? A woman acting like a hooligan in broad daylight. This world is really hard to live in. Yang Cheng cursed in his heart. He felt tangled for this woman who suddenly appeared in front of him. Miss Wang, with all due respect, you look like a female movie star I like. Yang Cheng looked up and said seriously. There wasn't a woman who wouldn't like others to praise her beauty, especially such a young and famous woman in the workplace. Hearing Yang Chen's words, Wang Yu evidently revealed some arrogance and pretended to be indifferent as she said, Oh, who is it? Mr. Yang, don't think too highly of me. I can't be compared to Miss Lu Mingyu, who is so famous. Yang Cheng carefully glanced at Wang Yu a few times and murmured in praise. The more I look at her, the more she looks like her. I often watch the movies of that actress. I remember her name is Matsushima. I don't know if Miss Wang has heard of her. Wang Yu, who was a little proud just now, immediately changed her face after hearing it. She snorted coldly and sullenly said, Mr. Yang really knows how to joke. I really don't know who that actress is. It's normal that you don't know. Yang Cheng sighed and said, I am also very familiar with that Matsushima. Although Miss Wang looked like her, I didn't recognize her at first. I tried to think about the reason and concluded that the reason why I couldn't recognize her was mainly because I couldn't recognize her with her clothes on. Wang Yu's face suddenly turned green and white. She angrily stomped her feet and glared at Yang Cheng before quickly leaving the restaurant with her 2 assistants. Lu Mingyu, who was next to him, finally couldn't help but cover her face and laugh out loud. You're really bad. You put Wang Yu together with a Japanese actress. I guess she won't be able to sleep tonight. This woman asked for it. Why did she bother me when I was eating? Yang Cheng complained. She's a public relations officer of another company and often bumps into me. Many of her customers are snatched away by me, so she always quarrels with me when she sees me. Lu Mingyu explained. Yang Cheng said with great interest, "No wonder Sister Mingyu's performance is #1 every year. Being beautiful is really the only way." Lu Mingyu didn't deny it. She tidied up her soft long hair and smiled. "This industry is like this, but don't think about it the wrong way. In fact, if you really want to negotiate with people from those big companies, at most they will take advantage of you. If you really want to make a move, there is no need for us to stop them. The other company's senior management will severely punish them. Unless they don't want to do it anymore, they absolutely won't dare to do anything improper." Big companies attach great importance to their reputation and industry comments. In fact, the outside world still has a lot of prejudice against the profession of public relations, but these are things that can't be helped. For example, Wang Yu's business was snatched away by me. If I told others that I didn't do any special services, how could others believe me? Yang Cheng nodded and said with a smirk, "Right, so Sister Mingyu also knows Matsushima. It seems that you also have research in this area. This kind of thing, it takes two hands to clap. How can there be only men and no women? Women don't know anything. So how can they make men happy? Women know about actresses. Is there anything wrong with that?" Lu Mingyu replied without any embarrassment. Yang Cheng really couldn't say anything else. He gave Lu Mingyu a thumbs up and continued to eat. Chapter 68. After the meal, Lu Mingyu was still sleepy. So Yang Cheng sent her back to her apartment before returning to Yulei International. When he returned to the Public Relations Department's office, many girls were looking at him with strange smiles on their faces. Yang Cheng was at a loss, so he asked the lively Zhang Kai, whom he was more familiar with. "Zhang Kai, what's wrong with everyone?" Zhang Kai was eating snacks that looked like QQ candy. A well-developed figure wasn't just natural, but also acquired nourishment. However, it had to be just right. The areas that should be fat, and the areas that should be thin shouldn't be fat. Obviously, Zhang Kai had done an outstanding job. "Where did you go?" Zhang Kai asked in return. "I went out to take care of some stuff." Yang Cheng wasn't so thick-skinned as to say that he was filming a short film. Zhang Kai put down the candy and stood up. Her bulging, hill-like breast pressed against Yang Cheng's chest. Her round, charming face was raised, and her big, watery eyes stared at Yang Cheng, making him feel a little guilty. "What did you take care of? Who did you take care of it with?" "Comrade, little Yang." Yang Chen's nose and mouth smelled the cocoa perfume on Zhang Kai's body. Looking at the tender white face in front of him, he really wanted to take a few bites. He slowly said, "It's just me, it's just a small matter." Zhang Kai suddenly burst into laughter and coquettishly rolled her eyes at Yang Cheng. "You're still pretending. Sister Mingyu just called to ask for leave. She said that you sent her back." This Lu Mingyu was really uncooperative. Yang Cheng grumbled in his heart, but he could only smile awkwardly and walk back to his seat. Just as he sat down, Zhao Hongyan, who was closest to him, pushed the office table and moved her wheelchair to Yang Cheng's side. She ambiguously asked, "What did you do with Sister Mingyu? You didn't push Sister Mingyu down, right?" These women were really bold. Yang Cheng once again had a new understanding of them. He had always been the one to tease women, but after entering Yulei International, he was instead frequently teased by little girls. While Yang Cheng was feeling a pain in the ass, he finally realized the true meaning of political power is born from the barrel of a gun. And even more so, he thought of the saying, "A shameless person is invincible." Therefore, one of Yang Cheng's hands quietly stroked Zhao Hongyan's thighs and slowly extended under Zhao Hongyan's black uniform skirt. Zhao Hongyan was wearing a bold black checkered fishnet stockings today. Between the messy lines, large patches of snow-white skin were revealed. Her jade-like feet were wearing the same black leather high-heeled sandals, revealing her bright red nail polish on her toes. Paired with the temperament of a young married woman, the urban white-collar attire perfectly set off the mature and beautiful style of an office girl. The strong visual impact was completely incomparable to that of a fake office lady in some island country movie. Suddenly realizing that Yang Cheng's hand was touching her thighs, Zhao Hongyan's body stiffened, and she immediately grabbed Yang Cheng's wrist with one hand. Yang Cheng, you're going to die. What if someone sees us in public? Who told you to ask so blatantly? If I don't act a little perverted, how can I live up to your guesses about me? What's more, you're dressed so seductively. Don't tell me it's not for men to admire. Yang Cheng's face was calm, as if nothing had happened, and he was just talking business with Zhao Hongyan. And from what you said, it seems that as long as no one sees, I can touch as I please? Zhao Hongyan had never experienced this kind of flirting in the office before. Her pretty face immediately blushed, and her charm was so soft that it could drip water. She rolled her eyes at Yang Chun and teased him even more. Don't mess around. I'm someone with a husband. We have a good relationship, and we're colleagues. I'm not the kind of person you think. I'm also a person with a wife, and I'm not a casual person. I'm just afraid that you're not a person when you're casual. Yang Cheng raised his eyebrows. Unfortunately, you're right. After saying that, Yang Cheng's hand broke through the weak defense of Zhao Hongyan's hand and advanced again until his big hand reached the base of Zhao Hongyan's thigh. Don't do this. Zhao Hongyan was a little flustered. She only felt the hot hand sliding along the skin of her thigh to below her abdomen, but she didn't immediately run away. Instead, she hurriedly tucked her skirt down with both hands, as much as possible so that the people around couldn't see anything strange. The warm base of her thigh and the tender skin brought great pleasure to Yang Cheng. Due to nervousness, Zhao Hongyan's thighs were tightly clamped and slightly trembled. Yang Cheng's fingers even touched the silk panties under Zhao Hongyan's skirt. With a little touch, he could feel a few strands of hair. Yang Cheng knew what it was, and his mouth curved into an evil smile. Zhao Hongyan shyly lowered her head and weakly moaned. Don't do this. Quickly pull out. You said you wanted to pull out, but before that, you didn't directly walk away, nor did you move my hand away from your thigh. Now I'm touching there, and you're tucking your skirt so that no one could see. Yang Cheng quietly and slowly approached Zhao Hongyan's ear and blew a breath of hot air on the crystal earring. Zhao Hongyan's whole body quivered, and her face burned to the root of her ears. Fortunately, both of them had their backs to the other people in the office, so no one could see too much abnormality. Women always have to be reserved, but it's okay to indulge once in a while. Yang Cheng's voice seemed to have the power of bewitchment. Zhao Hongyan slightly raised her eyes and glanced at Yang Cheng. I'll let you take advantage of me, but you still humiliate me. Be careful, or I'll really shout that you molested and harassed me. Yang Cheng didn't answer, but slightly moved his fingers under her skirt. After his fingers touched a certain sensitive part, he quietly drew a small circle on that part. Ning, Zhao Hongyan whispered and quickly covered her cherry lips. She only felt a strong stimulation from Yang Cheng's fingers, and she almost couldn't help but cry out. In such an office hall, surrounded by colleagues, there was a young man's hand touching her most private part, and he even used his fingers to gently move. Not only did she not stop him, but she also did something to cover up the nature. Zhao Hongyan never thought that she would have such a side, but the strange stimulation in front of her made her somewhat unable to stop herself from accepting such a situation. Soon, Zhao Hongyan felt a trace of moisture between her legs, and her little underwear was slowly soaked. If this continued, Zhao Hongyan even felt that she would not be able to withstand the intense comfort in front of everyone in the office and climb to an orgasm. Ring, ring, ring. Ring, ring, ring. Suddenly, the phone on Zhao Hongyan's desk rang. This was like an alarm, making Zhao Hongyan, who was a little muddle-headed, turn her chair back to her seat in a panic and pick up the phone. Yang Cheng's hand also pulled out from the peach garden, but there were a few traces of stickiness on his fingertips. After Zhao Hongyan answered the phone while panting, she turned around angrily and glared at Yang Cheng. It's all your fault. There's still half a day in the afternoon, and I'm wet inside. It's so uncomfortable. I didn't expect you to be so wet. Yang Cheng smiled and rubbed his fingers a few times. Zhao Hongyan suddenly lost her temper. She turned around and ignored Yang Cheng. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. Today was too embarrassing, but only she knew that in her heart at this moment, in addition to shyness and regret, there was an unprecedented sweet taste. After flirting with his domineering colleague, Yang Cheng's heart was also a lot more comfortable. He was about to turn on the computer to play some high IQ games in his eyes when his cell phone vibrated. Most of the calls he received recently were not good things. But when Yang Cheng picked up his phone call, he completely realized that the previous calls he received were not a big deal. The phone call was from Mother Wang. Her voice was trembling, and there was even a cry in the panic. Young master. Miss, she was kidnapped. Chapter 69. Lin Ruoshi was kidnapped. Wasn't she resting in a hospital? Mother Wang, tell me clearly what's going on? Yang Cheng was shocked, but he calmed down. I just received a call from the master, saying that he wants you to go to warehouse number 84 at the east side of Zhonghai Harbor. Miss and Miss Mo have been taken there, and he doesn't allow us to call the police or else. Mother Wang was sobbing uncontrollably as she spoke. Mother Wang, have you confirmed it? I've confirmed it. Mother Wang said, the nurses in the hospital are also worried. Miss Mo accompanied me to the garden for a walk, but she didn't come back. I've asked the hospital to keep it a secret for now, but the truth can't be contained. What should we do? This kind of thing actually happened to a father and daughter pair. Yang Cheng could only say that he regretted not beating Lin Kuan until he became retarded. This person really did have a strong willpower. He wouldn't shed a tear until he saw the coffin. Mother Wang, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Wait for my news at home. Yang Cheng comforted Mother Wang with a few words, then hung up the phone. Yang Cheng felt strange. Logically speaking, with Lin Kuan's means, it was impossible for him to kidnap 2 living women from the hospital garden and even transport them to Zhonghai Harbor. There must be some expert in this line of work who helped. But what Su Jihong did last time had already touched Lin Ruoshi's bottom line. He shouldn't have helped Lin Kuan. So who did it? Although he knew that Lin Kuan definitely had the intention to seduce him and take revenge, he shouldn't hurt the 2 women for the time being. But he was still afraid that he would do something to the 2 women beforehand, so Yang Cheng decided to leave quickly. In the surprised eyes of the women in the office, not long after Yang Cheng came back, he quickly ran out of the office, causing the women to look at each other in dismay. Zhonghai Harbor was one of the largest harbors in Huaxia. It covered a vast area. Without experiencing it personally, it was impossible to feel its majestic grandeur. It was a vast field that was like hundreds of football fields connected together. Many docks and warehouses would be abandoned, especially during the off-season of sea transportation. Many places would be empty and not a single soul could be seen. The blue sea stretched as far as the eye could see, and the sound of the waves. The harbor seemed especially deserted. After entering the harbor area, the car sped on the flat ground. If one looked at it from afar, it would look like a missile flying across the shore of the harbor. Yang Cheng focused all of his attention and opened up his field of vision. While stepping on the accelerator, he looked at the numbers of the warehouses by the roadside. After driving east for close to 10 minutes, he finally found the huge warehouse with the words 84 printed in red. The entire warehouse seemed to be in disrepair. The mottled iron door was slightly open. The door was piled with discarded stones and lime powder. It looked messy. The closer he got to his destination, the calmer Yang Cheng's mood became. To be honest, the word kidnapping was always used by others. He didn't expect that someone would kidnap his woman. Even if the cold lady didn't think so, it was enough to make Yang Cheng not know whether to laugh or cry. Slowly closing the door, Yang Cheng glanced around the warehouse. He couldn't help but frown. Although it was hard to detect, Yang Chen's keen senses allowed him to observe that several hidden corners of the warehouse had already been arranged to have professionals stationed there to monitor every detail of the warehouse. If he didn't guess wrongly, they even had medium long-range firearms in their hands. This was a professional group that was on an international level. Yang Cheng felt that everything was starting to become interesting, and he even felt a peculiar excitement. After entering the warehouse door, he could smell an old, rotten smell. Facing him was the empty warehouse floor. Sunlight shone in through a few broken windows, making the turbid air in the warehouse seem dusty. In a corner of the warehouse, Yang Cheng saw 2 weak figures tied together. Lin Ruoshi and Mo Chinny were sitting on a chair at the moment. Their hands and feet were tied to the chair by leather ropes. With their backs facing each other, they couldn't see each other's faces. In front of them, there was a group of strong men wearing all kinds of short-sleeved shirts. Some were tall, and some were thin, but most of them had dark skin, obviously exposed to the strong sunlight all year round. What caught Yang Cheng's attention was that when the group of men saw him come in, they didn't show any special expression, as if they didn't take him seriously at all. They were still talking to each other. What made Yang Cheng even more interested was the weapons in their hands and back. Almost all of them were AK-47, M16, and other powerful assault rifles. There was nothing special about these guns, but they appeared in Huaxia. If it was overseas, such as the United States, even if someone was carrying an M16 on the street, Yang Cheng wouldn't even bother to look at it. But for such a group of people to appear in a country where even pistols were rare, it was too strange. Yang Cheng was very clear that the stubborn organization that called themselves Huaxia's protectors was not bragging. To be able to avoid their eyes and ears and come to Zhonghai to kidnap people, they were indeed quite capable. Just as Yang Cheng was thinking about this, Lin Kuan, who had been smiling obsequiously with a few strong men, finally noticed Yang Cheng, and his face immediately revealed a vicious smile of hatred. "Mr. Lin, is this young man the person you want to capture?" A short-haired man wearing a white sleeveless shirt and military camouflage trousers seemed to be the leader of the group. In his hand, he was holding a Desert Eagle that only truly powerful soldiers could use, which was also the only pistol in the group, as he asked Lin Kuan in English. At this time, Yang Cheng had already approached, and hearing the man's English accent, he couldn't help but be startled. That was a Vietnamese accent, so these people were Vietnamese. "Yes, Mr. Long. I hope you can capture him. I want to personally send him to hell," Lin Kuan said fiercely. At the same time, sitting on two chairs, Lin Ruoshi and Mo Chinny also noticed Yang Cheng walking over. Lin Ruoshi looked at Yang Cheng with a complicated expression. Her pale face had a hint of despair, while Mo Chinny stubbornly had a hint of astonishment, as if she didn't believe that Yang Cheng would come alone for the two of them. The tall man with the surname Long sized up Yang Cheng and expressionlessly said, "Mr. Lin, I have to say, the price you pay to hire us is really not worth it. If you want to deal with this man, you only need one of my subordinates." The few strong men at the side all revealed arrogant smiles, obviously approving of their boss's evaluation. Lin Kuan clenched his teeth and said, "No, Mr. Long, wait until I deal with this brat. Then I'll get the shares that should have belonged to me from that slut. The money I gave you is nothing." After saying that, his face revealed a hint of fanatical desire, and he looked at Lin Ruoshi in the corner. In reality, these years of squandering without restraint, Lin Kuan's original 30% of Yulei International shares had already been reduced to less than 1%. He continuously sold his own shares to other shareholders, and this gradually led him to a dead end. This time, he sold all his remaining shares in order to fight to the death. Lin Ruoshi fearlessly looked back at Lin Kuan, as if she didn't have any emotions, and lightly said, "Lin Kuan, you really disappoint me." The woman realized this man already had no way of turning back, so she directly called Lin Kuan by his name and not by his father's title. She just didn't expect, in this kind of terrible situation, another man who originally had nothing to do with all of this actually calmly faced all the evil that should not have befallen him. Lin Ruoshi apologetically looked at Yang Cheng. Although this man gave her a bad impression, but for him to come here alone for her, Lin Ruoshi would be lying if she said she wasn't touched. "Lin Kuan, you're not a man. How can you treat your own daughter like this?" Mo Chinny's temper was unyielding. At this time, she finally couldn't help but curse out loud. Lin Kuan wildly laughed a few times, and then looked at Mo Chinny with an evil glint in his eyes. "You wild girl, I've always found you displeasing to the eye. Once I'm done with this matter, I'll properly teach you a lesson. In the past, when the old granny was here, if it wasn't for her protecting you, I would have thrown you on my bed and done it a few hundred times. Who do you think you are? Just a bitch raised by the Lin family. You're shameless, despicable, perverted. Mo Chinny's ashy face was flushed red. She struggled, trying to break free, but the professional binding technique made her efforts all futile. Yang Chung saw Lin Ruoshi's apologetic gaze towards him, and also saw Mo Chinny, the bad-tempered female superior's brave resistance. He couldn't help but have a good impression of these two women. One was able to distinguish right from wrong, and knew how to be grateful. The other was not afraid of power, upright and brave. Unfortunately, in the long river of human history, women always played the role of the weak. The world's feminism was born because women couldn't get equal treatment, and the most direct reason was that women couldn't beat men. The situation in front of him was like this. No matter how brilliant these two women were in the business world, no matter how many men they defeated, when faced with the most primitive, most vulgar method of attack, other than showing off with their tongues, they couldn't do anything else. Perhaps this was one of the conditions for human reproduction. If women were as strong as men, then how could men have the chance to be heroes and save the damsel in distress? The robust man, surnamed Long, didn't seem to understand Chinese and didn't pay much attention to the argument between Lin Kuan and the two women. He looked at Yang Chung, and seeing that Yang Chung didn't have any signs of fear, he walked up with a bit of praise and said in English, "Although you are about to be sent to hell, you are a brave man. I will leave your corpse intact." Yang Chun let out a weird smile and looked at the man with interest. He opened his mouth and said something that Lin Kuan and the two girls couldn't understand. "Your surname is Long. What is your name?" The tall man was slightly surprised and frowned and said in the same language, "You can speak Vietnamese? Who is Long Zan Huang to you?" Yang Chung continued to ask with a smile. If speaking Vietnamese made the man feel strange, then when Yang Chung continued to ask the name Long Zan Huang in Vietnamese, the man's face was only left with shock. "Who are you?" The man's face became serious. Chapter 70. As he spoke in Vietnamese, only the Vietnamese present could understand him. So Yang Chung didn't hold back and said, "Let's find a more secluded corner. I'll tell you slowly." The man's eyes flashed, but he still nodded in the end, and gestured for Yang Chung to lead the way. The confused Lin Kuan couldn't help but ask, "Mr. Long, what's the meaning of this? I'm the client. What's going on? Why aren't you arresting them? I paid them money. Don't bother me." The man with the surname Long raised the desert eagle in his hand and pointed the black muzzle at Lin Kuan's forehead, saying coldly, "We're only hired by you. It's not up to you to tell us what to do." Lin Kuan was so scared that he sat on the ground, shivering, not daring to say a word. Yang Chung couldn't be bothered to look at Lin Kuan and led the man to another corner. After confirming that no one could see what was going on, he turned around and asked in Vietnamese, "Why would the dragon sharks come to Hoa Xia? Aren't you afraid of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade?" Hearing the words dragon sharks and Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, the man's pupils shrank, and he aimed the desert eagle at Yang Cheng's head, asking hoarsely, "Who are you? Why do you know us? And what does the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade have to do with you?" Yang Cheng shook his head with a bitter smile. "If I were from the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, do you think you'd still be standing here? Then who are you?" The man didn't dare to relax. The man in front of him gave him a strange sense of oppression, and the longer he looked at him, the more he felt that it was different from before. Yang Cheng thought for a moment, and after a slight hesitation, he reached into his shirt pocket. A small shirt pocket naturally couldn't contain a weapon, so the man didn't take it as a threat to fire, and only waited quietly for Yang Cheng to take out something. "Do you recognize this?" Yang Cheng took out a small ring from his pocket, about the size of a normal wedding ring. The material of the ring seemed to be platinum, but due to its age, its luster was rather dim. There were no jewels on it, just a metal ring. What was even more peculiar was that the patterns on the ring had a black jade-like luster, and the complexity of the patterns had reached a dazzling degree. When a man first saw the ring, he only felt that it looked familiar. However, when he suddenly caught a glimpse of the exquisite Latin words engraved on the inner wall of the ring, he suddenly felt his blood freeze and his lungs suffocate. He had seen this ring in literature, and this ring was only a legendary existence among his group. However, even if they might not be able to see the ring for the rest of their lives, they must try their best to memorize it, especially the Latin words on the inside of the ring. The Latin language, which had been passed down from ancient Rome, had long since become a lost language in this world. However, in this mysterious language, there was a word, or rather, a name, that they would never dare to forget, because the owner of the ring engraved with this word in a certain field represented supreme power and was also the most noble belief in the depths of their souls. Yang Cheng saw the shocked expression of the man surnamed Long and knew that he had already understood, so he casually put the ring back into his shirt pocket. No one would believe that this symbol that could make the world go crazy was quietly lying in the pocket of the man's pants. All right, don't show that kind of expression again. I don't believe that my flood shark is made up of idiots. Yang Cheng friendly patted the man's broad shoulder. The man's body trembled, and only then did he return to his senses. Looking at Yang Cheng's warm smile, he only felt that he was in the cold winter of the 12th lunar month, in a frozen polar region. Thinking of this man's deeds, he couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. His legs softened, and he knelt on the ground, almost burying his head into the cement floor. Subordinate Long Zani, greets the king. Long Zani piously shouted with a trembling voice. Yang Cheng raised his eyebrows. You are called Long Zani. Does that mean that Long Zanhuang is your brother? Yes, respected king. Long Zani still knelt on the ground, not daring to raise his head, and respectfully replied. Yang Cheng helplessly sighed. Get up, this is Huaxia country, not my kingdom. You don't need to be too polite. Long Zani saw that Yang Cheng didn't seem to have any intention of blaming him, so he carefully got up, took 3 steps back, and stood up straight. The way he looked at Yang Cheng had completely changed. His tiger-like eyes were filled with fanatical respect and worship. He could actually see him. The man that was worshipped as a god by his brother actually appeared in front of him? That's right. Yang Cheng suddenly thought of something and said, I don't like the title king. If you don't mind changing it, it's better to call me by my other name. Yes, Lord Pluto. Long Zani proudly shouted, as if being able to shout this title was an incomparably glorious thing. Seeing that Long Zani already understood his identity, Yang Cheng didn't waste any more words and straightforwardly asked, why would the flood sharks appear here, although I didn't issue a ban on entering Huaxia? But your brother Long Zanhuang is famous for being careful. He shouldn't randomly make this kind of low-level mistake. Long Zani respectfully replied, reporting to Lord, our flood sharks' range of activity is only around some of Huaxia country sea areas, carrying out transportation work, so the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade didn't pay too much attention to us. This time we accepted Lin Kuan's employment because the range of activity is very small and the danger is very low. So after some consideration, we accepted the mission. He has enough money to hire you. Yang Cheng curiously asked. His money is said to be obtained by selling all of his shares. Long Zani replied, just enough to complete this simple mission. Just as he said, simple mission, Long Zani suddenly felt something was wrong. How could this mission be simple? The person he had to deal with was the man in front of him. He wanted to change his words, but Long Zani didn't know what to say and could only stammer without saying anything with an awkward expression. Yang Cheng obviously didn't care. In his heart, he thought that Lin Kuan must have sold the little bit of Yulei International shares in his hands. Only then did he have the money to hire the mercenaries. He couldn't help but feel it was funny. The people he staked everything to hire to deal with him just had to be his own subordinate. It could be counted as a big mistake. Long Zani, you take your brothers and leave. I'll take care of this matter. Yang Cheng said, Lord, do you need us to kill Lin Kuan? If Lord personally does it, it will only dirty Lord's hands. Long Zani's eyes revealed an ominous glint. In his heart, he already wanted to beat Lin Kuan into a hornet's nest. This idiotic old man actually almost made him the laughingstock of the mercenary world, sending the death god to hell. Isn't that a joke? Hell, that's the old man's paradise. Yang Cheng shook his head. Go tie up Lin Kuan, knock him unconscious, and throw him in the corner. Then you can leave. I'll take care of the rest. The longer you stay here, the easier it is to incite the dissatisfaction of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade. Yes, Lord. Long Zani didn't say anything more. Obedience was the duty of soldiers, not to mention the highest level command. Lin Kuan, who was currently in a terrible state, was abnormally angry. This group of soldiers from the heavens, after spending money, they still pointed a gun at their employer's head. If not for the fact that he had a favor to ask of them and couldn't beat them, he would have already chopped them a few times. At this time, he saw Long Zani walk back with an expressionless face. He once again put on an anxious, smiling face. "Mr. Long, did you catch that bastard?" Long Zani didn't reply, using Vietnamese to speak a few words to the two closest subordinates. The two subordinates immediately nodded solemnly. In a few moments, they took a rope and tied Lin Kuan up. Lin Kuan's strength was nothing in the eyes of these people. After tying him up like a rice dumpling, they directly threw him on the ground. "Your stupidity should have sent you to the sea of purgatory long ago." Long Zani walked forward. After fiercely saying this sentence in English, he kicked Lin Kuan unconscious on the ground. After the matter was settled, Long Zani blew a whistle. In an instant, from all directions of the warehouse, more than 10 mercenaries with loaded guns rushed over, orderly saluting. After Long Zani issued an order, everyone loudly shouted a slogan, but only they themselves knew what it meant. Immediately after, under the puzzled gazes of the two women, Lin Ruashi and Mo Chinni, the group of kidnappers, like the wind, left the warehouse, disappearing in an instant. Just when the two women were confused, Yang Chung, with his usual careless appearance, nimbly walked over. The corner of his mouth had a somewhat proud smile. "Yang Chung, what's going on?" Mo Chinni couldn't help but ask. Just a moment ago, it was such a despairing scene. How did it suddenly collapse? "I say, Miss Mo, let me help you untie the ropes first, then slowly explain. You are not afraid of pain, but I am afraid that my good wife, Ruashi, will be injured." Yang Chung looked at Lin Ruashi with a face full of pity, skillfully untied the complicated ropes. Lin Ruashi slightly glanced at him and lightly said, "Your hands are faster than the people they tied up." Yang Chung stared blankly, awkwardly smiled, thinking that this is natural, this is brother's profession. After the two women broke free from the ropes, they slowly stood up and looked at Yang Chung with a strange gaze. After all, everything that happened in front of them was too magical. How did this man do it? "I know you have a lot of questions, but please go outside and get in the car. I will first send you back to the hospital, then slowly tell you," Yang Chung said. Then Lin Ruashi bit her lips, looking at the unconscious Lin Kuan on the ground. Yang Chung sternly said, "Are you sure you still want to have sympathy?" Lin Ruashi stared blankly, painfully closed her eyes. When she opened them again, she revealed a trace of indifferent determination, shook her head, and said, "Let's go." Chapter 71. The three of them quickly got into Yang Cheng's car and rushed back to the hospital. Yang Cheng even called Mother Wong to let her know that he was safe. Mother Wong cried tears of joy and said that she would immediately go to the hospital to see Mississippi Mo Chinni, who was in the car, kept asking Yang Cheng what happened. Although the cold Lin Ruashi pretended to be indifferent, she was still curious and glanced at Yang Cheng from time to time. To be honest, she had gradually become interested in this cheap husband of hers from the initial disgust and disregard. Especially after some of his miraculous performances these days, it made Lin Ruashi have the urge to understand what kind of person he was for the first time in her life. However, if she would really talk about liking him, it was obviously still a long way off. Just based on his usual unmotivated manner, it made Lin Ruashi, who was serious about work, look down on him. Yang Chen couldn't resist Mo Chinni's threats and promises, so he made up a lie. He only said that he had already called the special forces stationed in Zhonghai to deal with their criminal group. If they didn't leave quickly, they would be surrounded and killed by the special forces. Lin Kuan lied to them and said that there was no special forces here, so Lin Kuan was the bad guy. In the end, the other party wisely chose to take Lin Kuan's money and leave, and couldn't be bothered with the three of them. Even a 3-year-old child wouldn't believe such a lie, but Yang Cheng didn't let it go. In the end, Mo Chinni couldn't do anything, so she angrily sat in the car and ignored Yang Cheng. In fact, if it wasn't for the fact that Yang Cheng didn't care about his own safety and followed the group's request to rescue them, they wouldn't have let Yang Cheng go so easily. They would have definitely gotten to the bottom of it. Lin Ruoshi didn't ask anything else, but suddenly interrupted and asked, "What language did you speak to that man in?" "Oh, Vietnamese." Yang Cheng knew he couldn't hide this. Mo Chin couldn't help but look at Yang Cheng as if he was a monster. "You know English, French, Italian, Spanish, German, Japanese, and Vietnamese? Is it strange?" "Actually, I know Thai. The two languages are quite similar." Yang Cheng shamelessly interpreted Mo Chin's gaze as admiration and said with a bit of pride. Lin Ruoshi was slightly moved. If it was just language, this man might really be a genius, but after thinking about it, she didn't think it was right. "Why did you learn Vietnamese?" Yang Cheng grinned. "Honey, I'm sure you've heard of it. Back in the day, Vietnam had a slogan, 'Sacrifice a generation of girls to prosper Vietnam's economy.' The girls in Vietnam are not bad. They are of high quality and cheap. You'll learn it when you go to Vietnam to play." After sending Lin Ruoshi back to the hospital, Yang Cheng didn't stay for long, leaving the rest to Mo Chin and Mother Wong. Fortunately, no one had called the police, so it saved a lot of trouble. After Yang Cheng walked out of the hospital, he made a phone call. The call was quickly connected, and a familiar rough voice came from the other side. "Mr. Yang, the person you wanted to arrest has been brought back, waiting for you to deal with it personally. It's a Qinggong." "Oh no, it's now called Zhang Residence, right?" Yang Cheng smiled. Zhang, who, on the other end of the phone, laughed a bit honestly. "Thanks to Mr. Yang and Miss Qiangwei's secret help, otherwise I, Zhang Hu, wouldn't be where I am today." Yang Cheng didn't bother with pleasantries and said, "Zhang Hu, I'm going over now. Before that, you can give that guy a taste of pain, but remember, don't take his life. Everything else doesn't matter. I want him to have no claws to scratch people." "Yes, Mr. Yang, you can leave this kind of thing to me." Zhang Hu's voice revealed a hint of ruthlessness. After hanging up, Yang Cheng leisurely drove towards the Zhang residence. This was also to give Zhang Hu some time to properly teach Lin Kuan a lesson. If it was according to Yang Cheng's own wishes, he would have taken Lin Kuan's life. However, since he had decided to integrate into the ordinary society, killing his father-in-law wouldn't be right. Moreover, although Lin Ruoshi was completely disappointed in this father of hers, if she knew that he had killed him, it would be an unforgivable gaffe for the rest of her life. The feelings between people were the most difficult to understand. Just like between him and Lin Ruoshi, a few days ago, they were pure strangers, but now he couldn't help but care about her feelings. When Yang Cheng found an empty spot to park his car and walked to the Zhang residence, about half an hour had passed. When the guards at the entrance saw Yang Cheng, they all bowed in unison. Yang Cheng saw a bit of fear in their eyes. It was probably because they had seen him break into this place at night, so it was still fresh in their minds. "Mr. Yang." Zhang Hu's familiar loud voice appeared at the entrance. He was walking towards Yang Cheng with 4 or 5 muscular men. He was wearing a white shirt and a gold Rolex watch, which made this rough man look more like a big brother. "Looks like you're living a good life. You're like a big brother now." Yang Cheng playfully laughed. Zhang Hu's face turned red. This is all because of Miss Qiangwei's good leadership. I'm just a rough man, and my men are all hot-blooded brothers. I don't understand these things." Yang Cheng doubtfully asked, "Is Qiangwei in close contact with you?" Zhang Hu stared blankly for a moment, then smiled and said, "I know what Mr. Yang is worried about. Don't worry, Mr. Yang. I've avoided all the people that West Union Society planted around me. My contact with Miss Qiangwei is also very covert. West Union Society's president Situ was drinking with me yesterday. That old ghost's meaning was that he was grateful that I pushed Chun Dihai away." "Oh?" Situ Mingze didn't suspect anything. Yang Cheng didn't believe that the dignified Western region's underworld tycoon didn't have a brain. Zhang Hu excitedly said, "Miss Qiangwei put on a good show a few days ago. Her Red Thorn Society underlings fought with my underlings over a piece of territory. A few of them died, and in the end, the territory was taken by me. Actually, That was just a place that Miss Xiangwei used to negotiate with me. It was just a smokescreen. But after sacrificing a few low-level trash, Situ Mingza has already allowed me to officially enter the West Union Society's Senior Council. You can't be careless. Until the last moment, no one knows what the result will be. Yangqing always felt that things wouldn't be so simple, so he reminded him. Zhang Hu seriously nodded, but his gaze towards Yangcheng was filled with strong confidence. So what if Situ Mingza didn't truly trust him? With the man in front of him, at worst, he could just charge into that old ghost's lair and kill him. Wouldn't that be the same as when he single-handedly killed Chindi Hai? Yangcheng also roughly understood Zhang Hu's thoughts, but he was too lazy to say anything. Although he wasn't afraid of making a move, if he made a move himself, he would attract trouble. It would more or less cause his peaceful life to be unable to continue. This was also the reason why Yang Cheng normally didn't make a move. "Where's that Lin Kuan?" Yang Cheng asked. Only now did Zhang Hu know that the pitiful old man was called Lin Kuan. He pointed towards a warehouse in the distance and said, "Inside there." My sister Zhang Ying heard that it was something that Mr. Yang wanted to do, so she volunteered to go in. "Your sister?" Yang Cheng recalled that night, when the pitiful delinquent girl foolishly asked him, "Why didn't you run away?" It seemed like after her brother became the boss here, her days were very comfortable. Zhang Hu smiled strangely and said, "Mr. Yang might not know, but my sister has many tricks up her sleeves. Mr. Yang said that as long as you don't die, you can do whatever you want." After my sister heard it, she immediately went in. Yang Cheng believed Zhang Hu's words because he had seen Zhang Ying being tied to the bed and tortured by Chen Feng. After going through those inhumane tortures, it was inevitable that her mind would be twisted. Naturally, she would also think of some perverted methods to use on others. With Zhang Hu leading the way, Yang Cheng walked towards the inconspicuous small warehouse. From the moment he stepped through the door, Yang Cheng could already hear shouts coming from within the warehouse. Those shouts were coming from Lin Kuan, but it sounded rather sad and painful. There wasn't much sunlight shining into the warehouse. It relied on a few incandescent lamps to illuminate the small space. The air was filled with a burnt smell. All around were piles of discarded furniture, cloth, curtains, and the like. The moment he walked through the door, the scene that entered Yang Cheng's eyes, not only Yang Cheng himself, even Zhang Hu and the other man beside Yang Cheng had goosebumps all over their bodies. They saw that in a small, empty space, Lin Kuan's branded clothes had long been taken off and thrown on the ground. Even his underwear had been thrown somewhere. Years of drinking and eating had caused his pale white flesh to become loose and heavy. His hands are tied by 2 ropes from the beam, unable to move. His legs were tied together by the rope, only able to bend up and down. If it was just this scene, everyone's expression wouldn't be too strange. But behind Lin Kuan, there was a skinny young man who was also naked. He was also hugging Lin Kuan's waist. He was constantly doing something that a man shouldn't do to a man. He was panting and letting out hoarse shouts of relief. Lin Kuan was actually being violated by a man. No wonder he kept making that kind of complaining sound. He had always been playing with others, but this time he was being played by someone else. At this moment, he probably didn't even have the strength to cry. When Yang Cheng was abroad, he had seen a lot of scenes like this, but he had never seen such an ugly pair. Moreover, in front of him, every detail was clearly visible. "Mr. Yang, brother, what do you think? My trick is not bad, right?" At this moment, Zhang Ying, who was standing in the corner of the warehouse, saw the people coming. She smiled and walked forward, as if she was asking for credit. "Ying Zi, this trick is a bit ruthless." Zhang Hu shuddered. Zhang Ying snorted disdainfully, daring to provoke Mr. Yang. "This is considered light. If it wasn't for the fact that I can't hurt his life, I can play even more ruthless." Zhang Ying said, and looked at Yang Cheng with a slightly seductive look. Yang Chen didn't dare to have too much contact with this eccentric woman, and couldn't help but smile. When he once again looked at the vile scene in front of him, he suddenly discovered that the youngster who was currently violating Lin Kuan, why did he look a little familiar? Chapter 72. This person is Chen Feng. Yang Cheng finally recognized the poor guy. He didn't expect it to be him. The current Chin Feng, compared to the last time he saw him, could be described as heaven and earth. His originally thin face was waxy yellow. His hair was messy, as if he had rolled in the grass. His cheeks were sunken, and there were many scratches and bruises on his body. What was even more difficult to recognize was his muddle-headed, crazy laughing expression. Rather than saying he was a human, it would be better to say he was an irrational, human-shaped animal. The original Chun family's young master had now turned into a person that was neither human nor ghost. It could be said that the heavens were playing tricks on people. However, Yang Chung didn't pity him. Karma has its own retribution. Chun Feng's current situation was also the result of bullying others in the past. Zhang Ying's gaze towards Chun Feng was filled with viciousness. It was Chun Feng who ruined her life. She had no reason to not hate him. That's right, but he is no longer called Chun Feng. He is just a dog that I raised. As Zhang Ying spoke, she suddenly pulled a rope in her hand. Chun Feng, who was struggling with Lin Kuan, suddenly screamed hoarsely as he was dragged to the ground. Then, like a dog, he quickly crawled to Zhang Ying's feet and began to lick Zhang Ying's toes that were exposed outside her sandals. At this time, Yang Chung noticed that on Chun Feng's neck there was a leather collar for pets, and the rope was in Zhang Ying's hand. Chun Feng's actions were completely irrational. It was obvious that he had received too much stimulation and became crazy. Every time I see this bastard, I want to shoot him, but my sister won't let me. Zhang Hu said fiercely. Killing him is too easy on him. I want to torture him. He used to play with me, so I will let him be played by other men. Every night, there will be brothers and sisters who were bullied by him playing with him. It won't be too late to kill him when everyone is tired of playing with him. Zhang Ying said naturally. Mr. Yang, do you still need my pet to serve that old man? Yang Chung looked at Lin Kuan, who had already fainted from the pain, and said expressionlessly, You guys do as you see fit. As I said, as long as you don't die, it doesn't matter. After speaking, Yang Chung turned around and left. He was no longer in the mood to look at the scene in front of him. Whether it was Lin Kuan or Chun Feng, their results were no longer important. But in this world, plans can't always keep up with changes. When Yang Chung was driving back to the hospital, Zhang Hu called him again. The information he told Yang Chung made Yang Chung stunned. Lin Kuan had gone crazy. His many attempts at revenge had failed, and he had been thrown into the dustbin. Then, he had been kidnapped by the mercenaries. He had gone for wool and come home shorn. On top of that, he had lost the only shares he had in Yulei International. Lin Kuan, who was left with almost nothing, was already disheartened. Now he was stripped of his last shred of dignity as a man by a bastard like Chin Feng. He was originally the son of a wealthy family who had indulged in pleasure for half his life, but in the end, he ended up in such a tragic state. To Lin Kuan, going crazy might be a kind of release. Yang Chung only told Zhang Hu to send Lin Kuan to the Zhonghai Mental Hospital. As for the other matters, Zhang Hu knew what to do. Just when Yang Chung was feeling sorry for Lin Kuan's madness, he suddenly received a call from Mo Qianyi. This beautiful superior had always been giving him a bad look. Even though he saved her this time, she still had an expression like he owed her money. This made Yang Chung feel helpless. Hello. What orders does Miss Mo have? Yang Chung said weakly. On the other end of the phone, Mo Qianyi was a little annoyed. What's wrong? From your tone, it seems like talking to me is a grievance to you, or something. No grievance, I'm flattered. Yang Chung frowned. This woman was really looking for trouble. Mo Qianyi snorted. I'm telling you, I'm treating you to dinner tonight. Don't be ungrateful. Yang Chung was very suspicious. He vigilantly asked, Miss Mo, you can't possibly want me to go to that restaurant to collect the debt again, right? Go to hell, Yang Chung. I'm kind and want to thank you for saving me. That's why I'm treating you to dinner. Do you think I'm the kind of insensitive woman who is looking for trouble? That's right. Yang Chung silently cursed. But on the surface, he still agreed. After all, he had no reason to refuse. He was also a little hungry. Then come to the company's parking lot. I'll drive with you. Mo Qianyi said and hung up the phone. Yang Cheng's stomach was rumbling with hunger. He sped up and quickly arrived at the Yulei International's parking lot. At the moment, it was already after work. There were almost no cars in the parking lot. Mo Chinny's red Audi A4 was particularly eye-catching. It was parked in a small corner. The owner of the car was looking at her watch while waiting for him. Mo Chinny had already changed into casual clothes. She was wearing a black gauze dress that perfectly wrapped around her slender waist and perky buttocks. She wore a pair of crystal-colored high heels on her slender, jade-like legs. A head of soft black hair was let down. It complemented her entire outfit. Her pretty face with light makeup was still full of intellectual beauty. It was in line with the traditional Eastern beauty's beauty. If you didn't know this woman was vicious and merciless, Yang Chung would also be like other men. He would be captivated by Mo Chinny's domineering charm. Get in. Mo Chinny didn't waste any more time. Seeing Yang Chung walk over, she immediately opened the door and sat in the driver's seat. After Yang Chung got in the car, Mo Chinny turned on the stereo. The AUX mode was connected to a delicate silver iPod. An old song by Chun Shu-hua, Time to Wake Up from a Dream, floated in the car. Mo Chinny didn't take the initiative to talk to Yang Chung again. She just drove by herself. After the car drove on the highway, Yang Chung was slightly surprised to find that Mo Chinny's iPod was full of classic old songs. It even included the works of old European and American bands, such as the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. It seems that you are very nostalgic. Yang Chung couldn't help but sigh. This young city girl actually had such a side. Mo Chinny rolled her eyes at Yang Chung. New things are always easily forgotten. Things that are not forgotten are worth recalling. After that, she paused again. You won't understand, even if I explain it to a vulgar person like you. I understand, Yang Chung said very seriously. 2 years ago, I thought that Hollywood's Jessica Alba was very beautiful, hot, and sexy. But after she got pregnant, I felt that Monroe, who had been dead for many years, was more interesting. Mo Chinny almost spat a mouthful of blood on the steering wheel. If she didn't have to step on the accelerator, she really wanted to kick this shameless guy out of the car. The rest of the journey was unusually quiet. Only the soothing rhythm of the British rock music in the car could be heard. When the car stopped, Mo Chinny said, "We're here. Get off." Yang Chung looked out of the window in confusion. He wondered if he had seen it wrong. He couldn't help but point to the neon sign in front of him and asked, "Are you sure we are eating here?" "Can I?" Mo Chinny asked with a bad look. Yang Chung shook his head. "I'm just wondering why you're eating here. I thought you would take me to some high-end elegant restaurant and eat Western or French food or something. That would match your identity. I like to eat at food stalls and street snacks, so unfortunately, you guessed wrong." Mo Chinny glared at Yang Chung. "Get off. Food stalls were food stalls." Of course, Yang Chung didn't care as long as there was someone to pay for him. He didn't bring his wallet. Along the river in the suburbs of Zhonghai, food stalls were bustling with business like a long, crouching dragon. One couldn't see the end of it at a glance. All kinds of tents were supported by bamboo or metal poles of different sizes. The colorful neon lights illuminated the food stall's name, and the stream of people on the street was endless. What made Yang Chung a little surprised was that most of the people were white-collar workers in Zhonghai City. Many men and women came wearing suits and uniforms, and there were also some who felt it was too hot and hung their suits and ties on their hands, talking and laughing as they walked along the street. The wind by the river could slightly relieve the heat at this time, so it wasn't particularly uncomfortable. It made the air in this area much better. However, the smell of seafood and fruits still gave this place a unique local flavor. Perhaps this was what people in the city needed. But no matter how lively the people were, Mo Chinny, who was wearing a black gauze dress, walking in the crowd was still a beautiful scenery. If it wasn't for the fact that she was glaring at someone and criticizing them, Mo Chinny was indeed an enchanting and alluring beauty. She had a dignified and beautiful appearance, and when she took light steps, her slender waist swayed, and her beautiful buttocks were especially provocative. When Yang Chung walked with such a woman, it easily attracted the jealous gazes of many men. "Do you come here often?" Yang Chung didn't know that there was such a place in Zhonghai City. He felt it was new and looked around and asked casually. Mo Chinny nodded. "I haven't been here for a long time. There are so many shops. Which one should I choose? Yang Cheng found that there were so many food stalls around that he was dazzled. Although they were mostly the same, there was definitely a difference in the level of cooking. Mo Qianni glanced at him and said, "Just follow me." Yang Cheng didn't ask anymore. He found that Mo Qianni was particularly quiet after coming here. It wasn't that she didn't speak, but it seemed that she was thinking about something and lost in some kind of memory. After walking for 7 or 8 minutes, under the guidance of Mo Qianni, Yang Cheng walked to a restaurant called Sichuan Fragrance Food Stall. Without asking, he knew that it was a food stall with Sichuan style. A fat woman with slightly white hair in the shop saw Mo Qianni and walked over with a happy expression. "Girl, I haven't been here for a long time. I missed your sister-in-law so much." Mo Qianni also showed a sincere and gentle smile. She walked forward and hugged the woman, ignoring the oil stains on the woman's body. "Sister Xiang, I've been busy with work recently. Today, I invited a friend to dinner. Since I have time, I came here to see you." Mo Qianni took Sister Xiang's hand and said with a smile. Auntie Xiang glanced at Yang Chen, who was behind Mo Qianni, and revealed a strange smile with a look of understanding. "This is your boyfriend, right? What do you mean by treating friends to a meal? You didn't even tell Auntie Xiang that you found a boyfriend." Mo Qianni blushed and quickly shook her hand. "No, Sister Xiang, he is my good friend husband. He happens to be my colleague. Today, he did me a favor, so I invited him to dinner. So it's like this." Sister Xiang smiled with a little regret. She said, "Girl's friend, don't be so polite. Sit down. This is your first time here. I will cook something delicious for you. You don't need to pay." Yang Cheng thanked her and found a small table with Mo Qianni to sit down. Sister Xiang served them tea and then went to the cooking place. "You're very familiar with this lady boss. Is she your relative?" Yang Cheng asked curiously. Mo Qianni took a sip of tea and wiped the fine sweat on her forehead. She said, "Sister Xiang is from my hometown. When I first came to Zhonghai a few years ago, I was unfamiliar with the people and the place. She helped me a lot and is a very good person." "So you're from Chuan province?" Yang Cheng was a little surprised. "Previously in the hospital, you said that you knew Ruoshi a few years ago. Then didn't you come to Zhonghai when you were 13 or 14 years old? Why? Is it strange?" Mo Qianni asked. Yang Cheng shook his head. "I just admire you. A 13 or 14-year-old girl came to such a big city alone. Unexpectedly, you were able to reach this position in so many years. But why did your parents let you come here alone?" Mo Qianni's eyes were a little dim. She said softly, "My hometown is in the mountains. It was very poor there. We lived on a few acres of terraced fields all year round. My father died of illness when I was 13 years old. I didn't even know what illness he had until he died. My mother had a hard time raising me alone, so she remarried to another man in the village." Yang Cheng was speechless. He didn't expect that behind Mo Qianni's bright and beautiful appearance was such a dark past. "You didn't agree with your mother remarrying, so you left your hometown alone?" After a moment of silence, Yang Cheng asked. "No." Mo Qianni turned her head and covered her eyes with her hands. She said, "In short, I had a reason to leave there. Besides, there was no junior high school, and no university. I didn't want to waste my life there." Yang Cheng noticed that Mo Qianni's eyes were red. He knew that she didn't want to think about this, so he didn't ask anymore. He changed the topic. "You brought me here to eat. You didn't bring me here just to reminisce about the old days, did you?" Mo Qianni rolled her eyes at Yang Cheng. "Sister Xiang's cooking is very good. I brought you here to see her, but I also want to thank you for saving me today. I should save everyone, right? One of you is my wife, while the other is my superior. I can't just leave you to die, can I?" Yang Chen said honestly. "You saved her is your business. Thanking you is my business. As for Ruoshi, she suffered a loss and wanted to be your wife. She doesn't need to treat you to a meal like me." Mo Qianni said. "Hey, don't be like this. What do you mean by wanting to be my wife?" Yang Cheng was depressed. "Is it bad to marry me? You see, I risked my life to save her." "What a great husband," Mo Qianni said. "You should save her. It's not about whether you deserve her or not. Besides playing games, acting like a rogue, What else do? You have no ambition, and no quality. You are a graduate of Harvard and know so many foreign languages. In this world, it's not the incompetent people who are shameful. It's the people who have the ability but don't take action at all. Yang Cheng was stunned. He almost felt that he was too shameful. No wonder this girl could be the head of the public relations department. She was very good at talking. Chapter 73. What? You can't say anything? Do you think you're useless? Mo Chini asked aggressively. I want to argue with you about this. You can think whatever you want. What's more, I didn't want to get married. Some things can't be explained in a few words. Yang Cheng smiled indifferently. Mo Chini suddenly gritted her teeth. I want you to be more motivated. That's why I'm telling you this. You're not stupid. You're even smarter than other people. It can be seen from the fact that you can learn so many foreign languages. But why can't you do a good job and work hard like other young men? Do you want to stand behind a woman and live off her for the rest of your life? Even if Ruashi is just using you as a cover for other men, one day she might not need you anymore. What will you do then? Living off a woman is not bad. Yang Cheng nodded. I'm driving my wife's car and living in my wife's house. I think my life is very good. If one day she doesn't need me by her side, I can go back and sell mutton skewers. Mo Chini was furious. She was trying her best to persuade him, but he acted as if it was only right and proper for him to do so. After taking a few deep breaths, Mo Chini felt her chest was a bit better. But the more she looked at the face in front of her, the more uncomfortable she felt. So she shouted to Auntie Xiang, Auntie Xiang, give me 2 bottles of white liquor, the high liquor. Auntie Xiang was cooking. After hearing this, she smiled and responded, White liquor? Is it sorghum liquor? Yang Cheng didn't know much about the traditional liquor in China. Yeah, if I don't drink, I'll be suffocated to death by you. Mo Chini stared at Yang Cheng. Auntie Xiang obviously knew that Mo Chini could eat spicy food and drink. So, the dishes that were served, no matter if it was seafood or vegetables, were all spiced with chili oil. As for the 2 bottles of white liquor without labels, it was obvious that it was cheap but strong liquor. Do you know how to drink? Mo Chini opened a bottle and looked up at Yang Cheng. Yang Cheng felt a bit dizzy when he smelled the fragrance of the wine wafting out. He had drunk quite a bit of foreign wine and often drank wine, but he had rarely touched this fiery and spicy sorghum wine. Seeing the charming Mo Chini's "I can drink a lot" expression, he couldn't help but smile bitterly and say, I'll drink less. I'm not used to it. You're really not a man. Mo Chini sneered and poured a small cup into Yang Cheng's small glass. Auntie Xiang had to entertain the customers, so she chatted with Mo Chini for a while before she went elsewhere. Only the 2 of them were left sitting in a corner of the food stall, eating hot and spicy Sichuan food and drinking fragrant Kaoyang wine. At night, the riverside was illuminated by the twinkling lights. In the sky, a bright white moon was reflected in the water, dotted with stars, and the river rippled like the Milky Way. In the cool breeze, the noise didn't seem too ear-piercing. As Yang Cheng ate the spicy dishes and sipped the scalding wine, he gradually felt the surrounding atmosphere brimming with enthusiasm. His heart felt especially comfortable, so he was a bit lost in thought. Wasn't this the life he yearned for? There was wine, there was meat, there were all kinds of people walking around. He could feel the wind blowing, the trees swaying, the sound of water flowing, and the chirping of insects. All of this seemed so beautiful, making one yearn for it. After a long time, Yang Cheng came back to his senses and looked at Mo Chini on the other side of the table. He couldn't help but stare blankly. Mo Chini had already drunk a bottle of white wine, at least half a caddy. A drunken red had already climbed up to her delicate face, and her delicate white skin appeared especially rosy and attractive under the light. The woman's eyes were like the ripples of the lake, quietly looking at the dishes on the table, but she didn't move her chopsticks. She only held the wine glass with one hand, as if in a daze. That's about it. Did you always drink this much before? Yang Cheng felt that for a woman, half a caddy of white wine was already a lot. Mo Chini looked at Yang Cheng with a somewhat innocent expression. She was obviously a bit drunk, shook her head, and said in a muffled voice, There wasn't anyone who could accompany me here before. I can't drink this much alone. Don't you have friends? Yang Cheng asked curiously. Mo Chinny burst into laughter, like a blooming red flower. Do you think the friends of Lay International's PR department head would like to eat in a dirty food stall? Yang Cheng was silent. Indeed, with Mo Chinny's current status, not to mention whether those people she befriended were true friends or not, why would people from that circle come to such a noisy place to eat for no reason? They would only feel that their social status was lowered, and they would lose face. In that case, I'm very honored to be the first person to accompany you to eat here, Yang Cheng said in a self-deprecating manner. And you're the first man I invited alone. Mo Chinny said with a bit of a mischievous tone. If other men wanted to invite me to eat, I wouldn't go. Fortunately, it's a food stall, or else if it was seen in other places, I would become the public enemy of all men, Yang Cheng said. Is it not good? I think the food here is much better than those five-star restaurants. Mo Chinny grinned, as if she was a lot happier. Yang Cheng nodded, although it was a bit spicy. The food here had more of a taste of life, which was also what he liked. As the two were talking, Mo Chinny's phone on the table vibrated. Mo Chinny elegantly picked up the phone and looked at the number. The smile on her face froze for a moment. Then she pressed the call. Mom. Got it. I will go. Okay. You take care of yourself. After hanging up the phone with a calm face, Mo Chinny threw the phone away, picked up the wine glass, and drank the remaining white wine in the glass. Yang Cheng saw the scene and asked in confusion, Your mom's phone call? Mo Chinny glanced at him and nodded. Didn't you hear it? Is there something urgent? No. Do you need help? No need. You don't look so good. You're annoying. Mo Chinny frowned impatiently. Yang Cheng smiled awkwardly. I'm full. What about you? Let's go if we're full. Mo Chinny didn't hesitate. She got up, picked up her belongings, and left the seat. Although Auntie Xiang repeatedly refused, Mo Chinny still gave her the money. She even gave her a few 100 yuan bills, saying it was to buy food for Auntie Xiang's child. Auntie Xiang seemed to know Mo Chinny's stubborn temper. In the end, she couldn't refuse and accepted it. The two walked back to the parking lot. Along the way, Mo Chinny seemed to be absent-minded. She didn't say anything as she walked in front. When they walked to the parking lot, the gravel road looked quiet and empty under the dim street lights. Suddenly, Mo Chinny turned around. Her watery eyes stared at Yang Cheng. In the dark night, her beautiful face looked a bit more tired. What's wrong? Yang Cheng felt that there was something wrong with Mo Chinny, but he couldn't guess a woman's mind, so he stayed silent with her. Can I hug you, what? Mo Chinny answered Yang Cheng. She opened her arms and hugged him. Yang Cheng didn't refuse. When Mo Chinny's cold and smooth arms wrapped around his neck, a sweet body fragrance mixed with the smell of alcohol hit him. And from Yang Cheng's chest, he could clearly feel Mo Chinny's round and soft breasts. After hesitating for a bit, Yang Cheng sighed. He opened his hands and hugged Mo Chinny's jade back. He gently stroked it twice. Under the night sky, the two were like a couple in love. They were hugging each other sweetly in the deserted suburbs, enjoying a rare time together. Actually, you can tell me if you have something. Maybe I can help you, just like today, Yang Cheng said. Mo Chinny leaned her head on Yang Cheng's chest. She rubbed it a little and said vaguely, Don't say anything. Don't ask anything. Just let me hug you for a while. A while is enough. In a trance, this hug seemed very long. But when the two separated, it felt like only a very short moment had passed. Mo Chinny stroked her hair. Her face was a little red. She looked at Yang Cheng shyly and said, Thank you. Let's go back. A beauty threw herself into my arms. I'm the one who took advantage of it. I know you don't have those thoughts. Mo Chinny looked at Yang Cheng's lower body. Unless you don't have that ability. Yang Cheng's face stiffened. It was hard to be a pure man these days. This woman was too bad. She actually paid attention to his physiological changes. After taking Mo Chinny's car back to Lay International, Yang Cheng said goodbye to Mo Chinny. He then drove his car to the hospital. Although Lin Ruoshi had completely given up on Lin Kuan as her father, he still had to tell her the news that Lin Kuan had gone crazy. When he arrived at the hospital, it was already past 10 p.m. On the way there, other than the nurses and doctors on duty, there was no one else. When he walked to the door of Lin Ruashi's ward, he saw that the lights in the room were on. He thought that Lin Ruashi wasn't asleep. But when he walked in, he guessed wrong. The lamp on the bedside table was still on. Lin Ruashi, who was lying on the bed, had already fallen asleep. She was lying on her side, on the pillow. She was even holding a book about the market economy in her hand. She wore loose blue and white-lined men's pajamas. Her messy hair covered half of her face. She revealed a delicate beauty that was rarely seen on normal days. It was hard to imagine that such a young woman was the CEO of a famous listed company. Her thin shoulders carried the burden of hundreds and thousands of employees from all over the world. Yang Chen couldn't help but admire his wife when he thought of this. Feeling that the air conditioning in the room was a little cold, Yang Chen saw that Lin Ruashi had fallen asleep while reading. Her upper body was exposed outside the blanket. He couldn't help but worry that she would catch a cold again. After thinking about it, Yang Chen quietly walked to the bedside. He quietly supported Lin Ruashi's head with his hand. He pulled out the high pillow and let Lin Ruashi rest on it. Then, he slightly pulled the blanket until it reached Lin Ruashi's shoulders. He carefully tucked the corner of the blanket to ensure that it wouldn't leak out. At this moment, the sleeping Lin Ruashi drowsily opened her eyes. She looked at Yang Chen with a complicated expression. Even though he was just looking at her quietly, Yang Chen could feel that her eyes were crystal clear and deep. He couldn't help but be stunned on the spot.